Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
Himitsu by Makin-A-Storm. Luffy is just a regular 17-year-old kid who dreams of being Pirate King and finding One Piece. The problem is, he has a big secret he hasn't told his nakama. He isn't really a he, but rather a she. Will problems arise? And what about Ace? Fem Luffy. Big shout out to the warlords of this channel. Rodarius Jones, Native Warrior, Claude Lifrace, Neo Esker 23, Derek Dowdy, Zazu Sayaz, Abdul Raf Ali, N3WT, What If Lord, Black Money Young Leon, Garrick Russell, Case Clark, KSGPL4YZ, Brian McKenzie. You know who you are. Want to stand with them? Join the channel membership and show your support. Adios.
Chapter 9. Don't Stop Dreaming. The Going Merry eased into the dock as Luffy suddenly jumped off the ship to the new island. I'm going to investigate, Luffy sniggered as she kicked a small pebble. How can you trust this woman so easily? Zoro grunted out as he proceeded to join his captain on the land. Would there really be an island in the sky? Zoro questioned as he turned to glare at Robin. That's why we're going to investigate, duh. Zoro is so silly sometimes, Luffy exclaimed like she had the perfect explanation. Robin smiled. She was still on the ship but her eyes seemed to hold a sense of adventure. Oh no you don't, Nami screeched as she managed to get off the ship. She proceeded to drag Luffy by the collar of her vest. I'm going with you too. If I let Zoro go with you, both of you will end up lost and heavens knows what kind of trouble would ensue, Nami chastised. I wasn't going to do anything to Luffy, Zoro unhappily said. Nami looked confused. I'm not worried about you doing something to him. I'm worried that you guys will start unnecessary fights. That's not what we need right now. We need to be cautious. You two and Robin are the ones with bounties on your heads. Last time I checked Luffy's was 30 million. We don't need you guys causing a scene. That was the end of the speech as Nami proceeded to drag the two to Mock Town. I guess that means we're supposed to stay and fix the ship while they go, huh? Usopp chuckled out nervously seeing a pist of Sanji glare daggers at the disappearing from of the trio. Those monkey guys sure messed Mary up. Chopper tried to break the tension with his small comment. Sanji gritted his teeth, his cigarette dissolving in his mouth. Did that Marimo know? No one seemed to notice Robin was nowhere in sight. Captain, the pirate howled. He was carrying 2 wanted poster in his hand. The man seemed a bit drunk but continued trudging on until he was face to face with Tanned Man with a crazy smile etched on his face. These 2 pirates have been spotted in town. At first I just thought they were regular nobody pirates. But then I heard this pretty lady scream at them. The man hiccuped out. Grabbing the wanted papers roughly out of the drunkard's hand he speculated who the boys were. They're Straw Hat Pirates, 30 million, hey. The man then had a mad look in his eyes as he started to laugh wildly. Let's see if they're worthy of joining us. Yes, Bellamy. His laughter rang out like a hyena as the rest of the prates around him shouted in agreement. Luffy sat on the counter of a bar banging lightly on the table waiting for her food. A smile was spread upon her face as Zoro and Nami took their seats next to her. To her right was a bulky fat man eating contentedly, his black beard smothered in pieces of pie. As soon as Luffy received her order she dug in, but, once she tasted the cherry pie, she screamed out to the bartender. "This pie is disgusting," was the yell that was heard as Bellamy entered the bar. Luffy stuck her tongue out in repulsion. Simultaneously the man next to her screamed in delight to the bartender, "This pie is delicious." Luffy and the older man proceeded to glare at each other. Luffy's cheeks were puffed out in defiance as she tried to glare manly. Her opponent was glaring half-heartedly and then proceeded to chuckle. He ordered 50 pies and left. Luffy didn't know why but she didn't feel good about that man, she snarled. Nami warned Luffy about not fighting and told Zoro to put his swords away. "Hey mister," Nami spoke to the bartender nicely. "Have you heard about Skypia? We wanna know how to get there." The whole bar broke out in laughter as Bellamy made his appearance next to Luffy. He ordered 2 drinks and scrutinized Luffy's face. "That pie must have been disgusting, kid." Bellamy laughed out and slid the mug of beer in front of Luffy. Luffy sat quietly and finally smiled out as she thanked the man. Nami was blushing furiously at the bar's previous laughter that she didn't notice when the atmosphere suddenly changed. The bar was serious, quiet, and there was a severe tension in the air as Luffy uttered the words, "Thanks." No one had enough time to react as Bellamy raised his hand and slammed Luffy's face into the counter harshly. Luffy gritted her teeth as she raised her face up. Glass shatters were embedded into her skin and her forehead was bleeding, but she paid no mind to this at all. Zoro glared, ready to cut the bastard up into 10 trillion little pieces, and was already formulating what move he would use when Luffy spoke up. "Zoro, don't fight. Whatever you do, don't fight." Nami gasped in shock as almost every pirate in the bar got up and started to mercilessly beat up her captain and Zoro. "What are you two doing? Fight, I give you permission," she screeched as Luffy was pushed onto the floor and punched in the face continuously. Zoro was holding his rage in as he saw the men beat up Luffy. The only thing keeping him back was Luffy's orders. He wasn't doing that well either as various men tried to take his swords away to use it against him. His stomach was being brutally hit over and over. The pirates finally just opted to throw the trio of Straw Hat pirates out of the bar. Bellamy laughing crazily in the background. "Idiots like you disgust me. Dreams about islands in the sky? Huh? Please, and don't tell me you're going to be Pirate King as well? A weakling like you won't survive the new age of piracy. And who is gonna be the head of this new age, guys?" Bellamy shouted as he walked back into the bar. "You, and Don Flamingo," the Crown shouted, retreating with the man into the bar. Nami's hot, angry tears pooled around her eyes as she cradled Luffy's head in her lap. Zoro was starting to pick himself up, swiping his calloused hand over his face to stop the blood. "Why didn't you fight, you idiot?" Nami spoke hushed in an angry whisper. Luffy groggily opened her eyes to see Nami's face. A deep chuckle came from near their position on the dirt floor. "They won that battle, little girl." The same man from before spoke as he shoved cherry pies in his mouth. "Those pirates inside are the true idiots. What kind of world would we live in without dreams? The new world will come, but it won't be what those idiot pirates believe it's gonna be. No, it ain't." The man laughed, a maniac glint in his eyes as he got up and started to walk away. "I'll see you in the new age, kid. If you survive," was the last words uttered by the weird man with a scruffy black beard as Luffy finally picked herself off the ground. "Who was that?" Nami questioned as he reached to take a shard of glass out of Luffy's cheek. The feeling of dread ran through Luffy, making her blood run cold when she heard the man speak. There was something about that man that made her hate him. She hadn't a clue why. "What the fuck happened?" Sanji yelled at Zoro as Luffy was carted onto the ship, her face still bleeding a bit and beginning to swell. "We need a doctor," Chopper yelled out, panicking as he ran around the deck. "That's you," Usopp shouted, breaking the small animal from his daze. "What the fuck were you doing, Marimo? Letting her get injured?" Sanji seethed, noticing too late he let the secret slip. "Her, in case you haven't noticed, your precious Nami is safe? The one injured is Luffy. So stop accusing me of thing if you don't know shit. You dumb ass cook," Zoro counter-argued, just as angrily. "It's all because we believed her, that Luffy got hurt," Nami screamed out as she tried locating Robin. "I'm here, Navigator-san." Robin's cool, collected voice came from the dock as she got on the ship. There was no such thing as an island in the sky. Nami got close to the older woman's face. "Are you proud of yourself? Luffy got hurt because of you?" Robin's clear blue eyes traveled to the form of the small girl in the red vest. Chopper was treating Luffy's face carefully, putting bandages here and there where the girl was bleeding. When the small reindeer attempted to look at Luffy's stomach, Luffy pushed him, edited to be seen. She was rubber after all. It was hard to break her ribs with just normal punches. "It exists. I investigated." Robin calmly spoke, taking the attention away from the persistent reindeer complaining and crying that he was a disgrace as a doctor if he had yet once treated his captain's wounds. The rest of the crew stopped hovering around the captain to stare at the dark-haired woman. They didn't believe her so willingly. "What did you find, Robin?" Luffy spoke as she cocked her head to the side cutely. "On the other side of this island, there's a man named Mont Blanc Cricket. He should know about the Sky Island. The words came coolly out of Robin's mouth. The pirates tensed, not believing a word she spoke. Then what are we waiting for? I want to see this cool island, Luffy exclaimed as she fist-punched the sky, unaffected by her superficial wounds. Luffy. Nami tried to speak but was cut off by Luffy. I don't know why you guys don't like Robin. She's nice, I've gotten hurt worse before. It's not a big deal, blah. She finished her sentence with a silly face that made the crew laugh. Robin smiled to herself. A lone seagull made its way to Mock Town. In its bag was the new and updated bounty posters for pirates. Bellamy was busy drinking with his crew when a man came running to him. Bellamy, you're gonna die, those kids. They have a higher bounty than you. Bellamy spit out his rum at the man's remark and snatched the wanted paper from his hand. That kid is worth 100 million. A mad look in his face came to view and he laughed wildly. Please, he's barely worth 30 million. This is probably a mistake. A weakling like him? They probably meant a measly 100. No one has ever set foot on this island with a higher bounty than me. He laughed out loud to himself. The pirates around him followed suit. Bellamy has a bounty of 55 million. There's no way that puny little kid could have higher, the pirates cheered. They're probably not even real pirates, huh? Hey Bellamy. Have you heard about the gold out in the other side of the island? Let's go get us some. Prove that old man over there who the real pirates are. A pirate spoke up and Bellamy laughed in agreement, his tongue sticking out like a madman. The salty wind played with the crew's hair as they got off the Going Merry. Luffy immediately ran into the little house on the side of the cliff, opening the door without permission. Is anyone home? She screamed but got no answer and chose to snoop around instead. Usopp complained that Luffy shouldn't be barging into people's homes without knocking, and just in case someone scary did pop up he knocked the door and proceeded to snoop around with Luffy. Well, at least he knocked. Nami picked up a small children's book from the floor and looked over it carefully. Ah, I used to read this when I was small. It was pretty popular in the North Blue, Sanji commented as he saw Nami raise the storybook up. It says he was a pathetic liar, this Norland guy, and he never became a true hero. She stared at Usopp. What an idiot, she deadpanned as Usopp stuttered out if she was trying to compare him with the guy in the book. Meanwhile no one seemed to notice Luffy was at the tip of the cliff, crouched down staring at the ocean. The sudden splash that came with Luffy's yelp made every pirate realize they weren't alone. Sanji turned around abruptly, blocking an aimed punch from Nami's face. A series of punches and kicks were exchanged before the strong blonde middle-aged man threw Sanji to the floor. Zoro ran to try and get to Luffy before she drowned but was suddenly unable to breathe as a perfectly aimed punch hit his stomach. Both of the strongest men of the crew panted on the ground as they crawled to get up. That bastard, they both screamed, not wanting to start a fight in between them. Right at that moment they charged to attack the weird man that came out of the sea. But before they could reach him he fainted and landed on the ground with a thud. Zoro looked madly around as he realized Luffy was still in the water. He was ready to jump in and save her when Usopp came up gasping, carrying Luffy in his arms. Damn it. First that shitty cook saves her in Alabasta. And now Usopp. What the fuck, let me save her for crying out loud, it's my job. Zoro seethed internally as he was commanded by Chopper to get the weird old man to the small house. Thank you for saving our boss. Two monkey-looking guys spoke simultaneously with big tears in their eyes. They had been the same ones that had attacked their ship earlier that day, when Luffy and the others attempted to dive and see why a ship fell out of the sky. But, they were calmed down now and seemed to be really concerned with the old man with a weird chestnut on his blonde short hair. Luffy smiled carelessly, not paying attention to a word Chopper was saying about the sickness Cricket had. Dismissing it as weird sick stuff, she asked Cricket how to get to the Sky Island. If you're that dude's descendant, then you should know how to get to Sky Island, right? She chirped up, not listening to a word the man said about how he hated his ancestor for making him suffer so much humiliation. Cricket finally gave up trying to explain to the idiot inside. His gruff voice came out tired as he looked straight into Luffy's eyes. I lived my life trying to prove people Norland wasn't a liar, that's why I dive. He brought a huge bell made of pure gold which caused Nami's eyes to brighten up. If you guys prove the island is real, I will lend you a hand to get there. Because you'll probably die without us. The twin monkey brothers spoke and Usopp shuddered alongside Chopper at the word, die. All you got to do is get the bird, Cricket laughed out deeply. Bird? The pirates all looked confused. Some animals have a better sense of direction. If you find the bird you're guaranteed to not get lost. So go to the South Forest and find that bird, Cricket yelled out pointing wildly to a fat South bird. Luffy looked at Zoro carefully. Zoro tensed when she suddenly touched his arm with such fierceness. Zoro, you're worse than an animal. Luffy looked completely serious as she said this, then continued, nah, it's okay if you suck at direction. I still like you. She laughed out as the rest of the people exploded with laughter and Zoro kept his blush under control. Why am I stuck with you? Zoro scoffed in distaste at Robin, who just kept on walking through the thick forest. It's not my fault. You didn't get to be with Captain San. Don't be jealous, Swordsman San. I'm sure Luffy is fine without you. Robin spoke, her eyes looking for the bird. Keep your mouth shut. I still don't trust you. You may have Luffy's trust, but I won't be fooled easily. Zoro grunted as he pierced a giant centipede with his sword. You protect our captain so well, Robin commented with no emotion. He's mine, Zoro said without thinking. Oh, so you're a couple? Lovers? I would have never thought that, Robin snickered to herself. No, I mean, Graw, shut up. Zoro lost his cool as he stabbed any giant bug in sight. I always thought Captain San was in love with someone else. Robin smiled as she got Zoro riled up. Someone else? Zoro repeated. Fuck, it wasn't that shitty cook, was it? Because he was obviously better looking. And what the hell? He never cared about stupid looks before? Graw, stupid Luffy and stupid sparkly feelings. While Zoro scorned the tight feeling in his chest, Robin smiled. A love triangle was so fun. While Zoro was having a love crisis and Robin taking advantage of his anger to amuse herself, Chopper was with Luffy narrowly escaping a giant praying mantis. And no, I don't mean a giant praying mantis as a little bigger than 1 inch. I mean it was huge, like taller than Luffy. What kind of forest is this? Luffy screamed as she fought insects the size of her grandpa. Every pirate was losing hope of finding the stupid bird and had all met up in a circle when they saw the bid pop up. The damn bird was laughing at them. It communed as Robin used her powers to keep it still. She smiled to Luffy, who complimented her with big shiny eyes, saying how cool he was. Zoro was still preoccupied with other thoughts. When the pirates got back to Cricket's home, they were shocked to see their ship practically destroyed and Cricket laying motionless on the ground. What the hell happened? Nami yelled as she ran in the house looking for the gold. Usopp didn't even have time to comment how greedy that made Nami look as he cried over Going Merry, who was destroyed. Who did this to you, Oji-san? Luffy cried out as she attempted to get him up alongside Sanji and Zoro, Chopper tailing right behind them to look after the man's wounds. It doesn't matter. Cricket choked out. He was preoccupied with the need to fix the pirates' ship and get them to the island in the sky. If you guys are to get to the island in time, we need to fix the ship and go before dawn. We don't have enough time to worry about the idiots who did this, Cricket yelled out, attempting to go get his tools. Oi, Luffy, look at this. Zoro commented from his position. He pointed towards a tree, with a Jolly Roger etched on its trunk. That's Bellamy's symbol, Nami said as she clutched her hands in anger. Luffy looked to the horizon of the small island. Nay, if I run along the side of this beach, I can reach the city? Robin immediately answered. Yes, oi, I'll go with you, Sanji piped up. He wouldn't let her keep on getting recklessly hurt like this. For crying out loud, they just made it out of Alabasta. Luffy, Zoro cried out as he clutched Luffy's arm. She needed some backup if all the pirates ganged up on her, right? Let me go, were the last words Luffy commanded as she made a mad run toward the city. Are y'all just gonna let him go like that? One of the monkey guys said as cradled his brother's bleeding head. Everyone was silent. Luffy is strong. He has beat anybody who has ever gone by him. Usopp was the first to break out of his daze as he sputtered out an argument. If Captain San was able to defeat Crocodile, he can take this man down as well, Robin commented with a smile. Sanji sighed out a puff of smoke as he contemplated if Luffy would make it in time. Zoro clutched his swords until his knuckles were white. His feelings were all rumbling in his head, giving him a migraine. Why couldn't Luffy understand? He didn't like her going to battle alone. It's always been him and her against everybody, since the beginning. Against the Navy captain that tried to kill him, that weird clown pirate, that guy who thought he was a cat, even that fish shark thing. Zoro clutched the hilts of his swords even harder as he remembered not being able to protect his captain, or even fight alongside her in Alabasta. And in Drum while he was guarding Vivi. Slowly it seemed that Luffy wasn't going to need Zoro. And that made Zoro's migraine worsen tenfolds. He seemed to forget Luffy was the one defeating the main bad guy, while Zoro the second strongest. Nami looked at Chopper while he busily bandaged Cricket. She ran a hand through her orange hair and hoped Luffy would get back by dawn. With the gold, of course. While Luffy ran, all she could think about was Cricket's face all bloodied but still determined to help them. Memories of when she was little flooded back. Ace Knee, a small Luffy, yelled as she ran with her chubby legs towards a bloodied and dirty Ace. You didn't need to beat them up, it doesn't matter if they called me a freak. Luffy puffed out her cheeks and pouted. G-chan will get mad if you got in a fight again. Luffy warned as she reached to pat Ace's cheek still chubby with baby fat. Ace looked down on the small girl and flicked the too big straw hat on her head lightly. When people make fun of me, it's okay. I can take it. But no one can make fun of you, or anybody I care about, cuz no one makes fun of the people I love, even if they're weird. Ace grunted out as he stretched Luffy's cheek out of size. Bellamy didn't know what was coming as he flaunted in the bar with his crewmates. Did you see those nasty monkey guys, huh? Pathetic. He took a lung of rum and laughed out. They look horrible with all that snot coming out their noses, crying out, boss. Just at that moment Luffy opened the door to the pub harshly, her face contorted with anger. No one makes fun of the people I love, get out. Here now, Luffy bellowed as she stretched her arm to slingshot Bellamy out of the bar, slamming him on the dirt floor. She had managed to make it on top of a tower and continued to scream at the mad hyena man. Return the gold. Luffy spoke with daggers in her words as Bellamy laughed wildly. Gold? To you, huh? It's my loot, kid? Bellamy used his devil fruit abilities to turn his legs into springs and rocketed towards the tower. You have no right to say that, especially a weakling like you. Luffy took a deep breath. They are my friends, no one makes fun of them, and no one takes their stuff. Do you even know how to punch? Bellamy laughed towards the spectators below. They all cheered him on. You couldn't even defend against a few punches to your face. Bellamy took no notice that Luffy didn't have any scars on her present. A man in the crowd shook holding Luffy's wanted poster. I'm not so sure. Bellamy should be laughing. He whispered to himself as the second in command of the Bellamy pirates spoke up. Huh? Please. Do you see that kid? He's puny and scrawny. Even looks like a girl. He'll be lucky to even survive after Bellamy is done with him. At that very instant Bellamy destroyed part of the tower Luffy was standing on with his powers. He propelled himself all over. His speed was immense and no one could even see him. As he continued to damage everything around Luffy, she just stood there not moving a finger. I'll destroy you in a second, brat, Bellamy howled as he decided to stop parading his powers and end the fight right there. You were the one who asked if I could punch, right? Luffy spoke as she raised her arm. The spectators all knew Bellamy would win as the blonde man rocketed towards Luffy. They didn't expect Luffy to deliver one of the strongest punches they had ever seen straight to Bellamy's face. Bellamy was left on the ground, all his teeth shattered and Luffy's knuckle dripping with his blood. Oi! Bellamy, get up! Stop faking it, the second in command screamed, but one glare from Luffy sent everyone running for their lives. He's late. Nami ruffled her hair in worry. He probably didn't calculate how long it would take him to carry the gold back, she muttered to herself. Ah, no, I think he doesn't even know how to calculate, Usopp deadpanned. Hey Guyss, Luffy yelled out as she ran clumsily through the coast of the beach. I did it. Nami sighed in relief. He got the gold back, great. I found this really great beetle. Luffy shouted only to get knocked down by Nami's punch. What were you doing all this time? Nami screeched and Luffy had to throw the beetle at her shirt to get her to stop shaking her. Setting the gold bell on the floor in front of Cricket, Luffy smiled. I got it back, hee. Thanks, kid. The older man spoke as he guided the pirates to their ship. watching them all board onto the improved Going Merry which could get to Sky Island. "We'll prove it exists, old man," Luffy waved as the ship started to sail away. Cricket let out a deep laugh in response. Ignoring the tears of gratitude, he shouted, "You'll definitely make it, kid." And so, the Straw Hat crew made their way with the help of the monkey siblings to Skypia, their new adventure staring at them in the face. Chapter 10. Shattering Dreams. The ocean swayed peacefully, never once expecting a ship to fall out of the sky with a giant splash. "Wah! We're lucky we didn't die," Usopp howled at the top of his lungs. He was clinging on to the Going Merry's railing, eyes bulging out of his head afraid to let go. Nah. Good thing I saved Mr. Octopus over here." Luffy smiled widely as she poked at a deflated octopus in the middle of the ship. Sky Island was full of strange things. Nami whispered to herself as she carefully looked at the octopus that once had been so giant it served as a parachute. "Well, I'm not complaining or anything," the orange-haired girl clasped her hands while her eyes turned to giant stars. "We might be the richest pirates in town thanks to them." "We can finally buy a statue," Luffy interjected. "Of me, 'cause I'm the captain." Luffy cheered. Parading around a golden coin she had stolen from the massive bag of loot Nami was tugging around. Seeing the golden coin, Nami snatched it and chastised Luffy. "First of all, we're gonna fix this ship. Now that I think about it, Mary has been badly damaged, all thanks to that big Enel guy." Usopp shuddered remembering the antagonist in Skypia, Enel the god of thunder who terrorized the whole island. Okay, the next member of my Nakama has to be a shipwright." Luffy pumped her fist in the air, eyeing the dials Usopp held in a separate bag. "Oh no you don't." Usopp guarded the bag with his life. "It's not fair, you guys have freaky powers and strength." Nami declared that no one from the monster trio is allowed to use dials, he screeched, practically clinging to Nami. "Yeah, only the weakling get to use them," she smiled out. "Oh wait, I'm no weakling. I'm the smartest person here, and—" "Oh stop bragging, you stupid woman," Zoro interrupted as he leaned back on the ship's railing. He brought his hand up to stifle a loud yawn and allowed himself just a small peek of Luffy pouting cutely as she reached for the bag Usopp held above her reach. Suddenly Luffy didn't seem at all interested in the bag Nami and Usopp were talking animately about. She turned her head to stare at the ocean. "Ah, that's an island." She ran clumsily to get the telescope in the crow's nest. "And it looks deserted." Nay. Nami, let's go there, it looks like fun, we can rest and everything, right?" "I guess. We could make a pit stop. I mean, we're all still trying to recover from all those battles in Sky Island." "Okay, head to that island. We'll regroup there and see how we can get a shipwright. Maybe Usopp can fix my weapon with some of the dials and Sanji can make his lunch. We haven't eaten in days." She started to mumble to herself as the other pirates hurriedly started to work. "Look, it's a human." Chopper stared up at the tall creature walking in front of him. The small Rinder's eyes turned to stars as he observed the tall creature hover over the whole crew. Even in his human form he couldn't be that tall. "Human? That's not a human," Usopp yelled out. He took this time to look around, and indeed the whole island was inhabited with strange overly tall or overly long creatures. Luffy ran up to the bear with the curiosity of a child and suddenly glomped it. "It's so fluffy," she screamed out as she nuzzled her face in the warmth. Nah. This isn't human, she. "Oi, Luffy, don't be reckless. What if it tries to kill you?" Nami yelled from her safe position hiding behind Sanji and Robin. Without listening to a word said, Luffy tried to climb an immensely tall tree. When she came down with an extremely long object, everyone gathered around her. "What the fuck is it?" Zoro grunted out. "Is it edible?" Sanji mumbled. No one had time to react as Luffy shoved the object in her mouth to take a bite. "Ah!" she yelped. "Was it poisonous?" Chopper screamed out, ready to help his captain. "Spit it out." Nami was about to fully throttle Luffy to get the poison out. Suddenly a smile overcame Luffy and she stared at her crew. "It's an apple." Everyone immediately almost dropped to the floor from the sheer stupidity emitting from their captain. With the weird long form of the apple still hanging from her mouth, Luffy pointed towards the horizon. "Is that a house? Maybe someone lives there, not waiting for anyone." She ran towards the strange home. Doesn't he learn anything from the last time we invaded someone's house? Nami face palmed herself only to hear Robin chuckle. History tends to repeat itself, Navigator-san. She smiled at the orange-haired girl. Zoro took one look at the eldest woman and started to walk towards the house his captain was probably ransacking by now. Robin let herself smile. She had been smiling quite often here with the Straw Hat crew, and even the green-haired swordsman had started to trust her. It almost felt like a family, and she loved the warmth the strange cross-dressing girl had brought into her heart. She tucked a few loose strands of her raven black hair behind her ear, all the while thinking, maybe this is my home. When Zoro reached the house, more like the scene of the crime, his eyes bulged out at what kind of trouble Luffy, Usopp and Chopper had managed to get themselves in such a short period of time. There next to the house lay an extremely short man crying that he was stuck of stilts for years, and a creature that resembled a giraffe thrashing around on the ground wildly because his leg was hurt. Great, you leave these three idiots for a second and havoc runs wild. Zoro took a deep breath and sighed. What did you do this time? We didn't do anything, Usopp muttered out as he and Chopper carried the old man in the house to take care of him and the creature. It's not their fault, young man. They saved me. Well, the monkey-looking one just wanted to try my stilts, but nonetheless, they saved me, the old man cried out to Zoro, who was impatiently cracking his neck. The crew followed the old man into the house, apparently the only house in the deserted island with weird creatures. Oh, you must save my horse. Everyone turned to see the giraffe getting attention from Chopper. That's a horse. What the hell? What kind of island are we on? Oh hell nah. Not another freaky island. A horse? What? Yes. That's a horse. Her name is Shelly, the old man nervously stated, trying to appease the pirates. Because I was stuck on the stilts for years. I was separated from the rest of the village. I told her to follow them, but she's such a stubborn horse. She stood by me even if it meant not being with her friends. Tears burst out as he cried rivers and the pirates calmed down. Why did your village leave you behind? Robin questioned. Well, it's not their fault. They didn't realize I wasn't with them. And on this land, we have to move constantly. You see, this country or land is shaped like a circle. A donut perhaps? It's made up of 10 separate islands, and connecting them is a path that only comes out occasionally. Usually this path is covered in water, so we must stay on one island then move. We all travel as a pack when the water resides, but that was years ago, and I can't possibly catch up with them. The Straw Hat crew stared at the elderly man, the only inhabitant of Long Island who was apart from his clan. The pirates were all so busy trying to form solutions and help the man and his animal they failed to realize the sudden drop in temperature. May I offer some sort of assistance? A cool, deep voice rattled the small home. Everyone immediately turned, eyes boring into the tall man standing outside the open door. Robin immediately took a few steps back, her heels making the only noise in the tense atmosphere. Ha! The look of sheer terror spread through Robin's usually cool mask. Immediately sensing this, everyone took a battle stance. Who the hell are you? Why is Robin so scared of you? What the fuck did you do to her? Get the hell away from here if you don't want us to break your face. Everyone was slowly going outside to meet the man head-on. Either TWHO had been reduced to a terrified little child on the floor and run. Luffy cracked her knuckles, preparing to launch at the man if he attacked, all the while moving forward, keeping her crew in back of her and the old man so she could protect everyone. Little children shouldn't be this hostile. The man finally spoke, his voice sounding so loud as he hovered above them all. I'm an acquaintance of your dear, Robin-chan. We've met a couple of times before, no? He stared down at Robin with a lazy grin. She couldn't answer. Her voice failed her at the most crucial time and she shook as if hearing his words were buckets of ice water. Relax kiddies, I'm just taking a walk. I realized this old man needed some help, so I came here. No one ordered me to, it was of my own accord. The tall tanned man suppressed a yawn as he pocketed his hands. Zoro stepped forward, not liking the man's tone and certainly not liking the fact Luffy was trying to protect everyone. She shouldn't need to protect everyone, because he would protect her. And with a snarl Zoro questioned the much taller man. Ordered? Who the hell do you work for? The man didn't get a chance to answer as Robin finally managed to speak. The Marines. He's a Supreme Admiral of the Marines. All through Long Island, the animals suddenly covered their ears at the sudden explosion of the pirates all shouting, "Supreme Admiral?" Sanji attempted to step forward along with Luffy and Zoro, but he could only manage to get as far as where Usopp stood, the young tanned teen clinging to Sanji for dear life. Supreme Admiral as in? The highest-ranking fighter of the Marines? Not even Smoker was that level? Sanji managed to speak as he was being consumed by fear just as Robin and Usopp were. From behind the blonde, Usopp's teeth were clicking together at the force he was shaking. Why you? There's plenty of other more dangerous pirates than us. Even more worth than Luffy. Why can't you bother them? The tall man suddenly plopped to the ground and looked as he was going to pull the sleeping mask that stood on his forehead over his lazy eyes. "Ah, I'm tired. You kids are so troublesome. I told you, I was here on a walk. I'm not going to arrest you. I only wanted to know if Nico Robin was in your group after Alabasta so the Navy could include her in the overall bounty you Straw Hat pirates have." The man didn't bother to stifle the loud yawn as he lazily pointed at the old man to catch his attention. "I decided to help you as well. So pack your bags, I'll help you get to your people." The old man's face lightened up, but Luffy wouldn't take that. "No, you can't trust him. He's mean. He's a Marine." Wait. She was getting confused over her own words and had a silly look etched on her face. "We're pirates, usually you shouldn't trust us. But no, Marines are bad. But they're not bad for you." Getting all jumbled up in her own speech, Luffy suddenly had a realization. "How are y'all gonna get him to his family? It'll be faster on our ship. We just have to search each small island and—" Her rambling was cut short as Robin spoke up, immediately shushing the younger girl. "It's possible. With his power, he can do it. After all, he's Aokiji, the blue pheasant." Robin's blue eyes strained to glare at the lazy man. Aokiji let a lazy grin cross his face as he stood up and made his way to the edge of the island, not too far away from the old man's house. Putting a strong tanned hand on the water's edge, he whispered the words, "Ice Age." The pirates were all amazed to see the entire ocean frozen. Even their ship that had once swayed to the waves was stuck in a giant piece of ice. "Wah! You must be a good guy then," Luffy shouted in glee while she approached the tall admiral. "You helped the old man. Now he can get to his family." The admiral sat down in the meadow again, not caring a bit for Luffy's compliments. He raised his eyes to the small teen and shook his head. "You resemble your grandfather, Monkey D. Luffy." Luffy's brown eyes opened wide at the mention of her grandfather. She froze up and started spluttering nonsense only for Usopp and the rest of the crew to ask who her grandfather was. "Is it because you're both open-minded? Or idiots?" Aokiji spat out. "But I shouldn't disrespect my elder by comparing him to his good-for-nothing grandchild." Everyone turned on the offensive as they heard the insult. "You know, Grandpa?" Luffy ignored Aokiji's sudden comment and concentrated on her grandfather. Her grandpa, the man that raised her. The man she loved like a father. The only man that could make her scared shitless. Luffy's eyes were filled with tears as Ace pushed her in back of him, protecting her from the tall, gruff man in front of him. The girl's cheek was raging red and swollen horribly. Ace knew this and glared up at the man. "Don't you ever fucking hit her," the freckled teen roared. "Ace knee. Don't fight with Jii-chan." Luffy hiccuped out through her tears. "Don't mess with me, Ace. She is my grandchild, my responsibility. I'm disciplining her." The older man spoke angrily, but his face was sad. After all, this was the first time he had ever raised his hand against Luffy. It hurt him to see her hiccuping and clinging onto Ace's arm. All he wanted was for her to take back what she said. "I don't care if you're her grandpa, old man. She's mine, I won't let you take her away." Ace spoke years wiser than his age. "Look, Ace, Luffy can't be a pirate, you know that. It's foolish to believe a girl will be able to live like that." Ace reluctantly agreed to the man's argument. "And it's time she grew up. She can't be a child forever. One day she will get married to a nice Marine who can protect her. That's why I want her to come with me to the Marine base." Ace snarled at that. "I don't want to be a Marine's wife. I'm only 13, Luffy whined and received a glare from her grandfather. "I leave you with Makino and the old man over in Fuchsia village and you come up with crazy ideas of wanting to be a pirate. I show you how cruel a criminal life can be by leaving you with Dan Dan, and you tell me you want to be the best pirate there is." Don't give me that crap, I'm taking you back, and raising you like I should have ages ago. Luffy couldn't speak as her mind flooded with memories of her strong grandfather arguing she needed to act like a girl. Your grandfather is a great man, and I am in debt to him. So maybe all of you should die. Aokiji lifted his sleepy eyes upon Luffy's sweating face. Except you, Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy. How does he know your grandfather? Nami shuddered at the sight of her captain, almost looking like a hopeless child. I won't go back. Not with Jii-chan. Not with Ace. Not with you. Luffy angrily seethed out. Have it your way. But now that you have Nico Robin on your crew, I doubt you'll live long anyways. After all, she is notorious in the fact that every crew she has been on, every person who trusted her or lent a helping hand has ended up dead. I doubt your old man would like it if his precious grandchild was murdered. He purposely paused when he said grandchild to elicit a reaction from the young teen. But Luffy wasn't the one to react as harshly as the three people behind her did. It all happened in a blur of yellow, green and purple. And suddenly Zoro's swords were piercing the admiral. Sanji was delivering a monstrous kick to the tan man's face, and Robin had crushed the man's vital points with her extra limbs. They would have never expected the man to regenerate himself after suddenly shattering in ice. I guess, this is where the Straw Hat Pirates end. Luffy-chan, Aokiji smirked as everything around him started to freeze. Chapter 11, Heartbeats. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. For some reason all Luffy could hear clearly was the steady beat of her heart, when she should have been more preoccupied with the fact that her crew screamed around her. Luffy, we gotta leave. He's dangerous. She faintly recognizes Nami's high-pitched voice. But all Luffy could do was stare at Aokiji. A lazy smile spread on his thin lips. The tall man looked as if he hadn't done anything wrong, as if he wasn't the enemy. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. Why isn't he moving? Usopp's voice barely registered in Luffy's mind. We need to get Robin to the ship if we have any chance of saving her. The small reindeer's hooves made click-clack sounds against the rough ice. She's still alive. All you got to do is defrost her. Luffy saw rather than actually heard Aokiji say. She licked her lips nervously and shivered at the sudden drop in temperature. I thought you weren't here to cause trouble. The admiral shrugged. Then why? Why did you do that to Robin? Luffy's voice boomed as she frantically pointed to the woman in question. Robin sat frozen in place, literally. The once cool beauty had been reduced to an ice sculpture, the rest of the crew fearing the admiral would do the same to them. I told you, didn't I? Returning you would end this little pirate gang you have here. And in the process repay my debt I owe to your grandfather. Why don't you realize that this world you want to live in isn't meant for people like you, Straw Hat-chan? Zoro let out a feral growl. Sanji tensed up on a similar manner. What the hell do you know? Luffy broke down and charged full force toward the admiral. I'm helping you, you fool. Aokiji froze Luffy's fist at the first impact it made with his chest. At the sight of this, Zoro and Sanji charged, attacking with everything they had. Their attacks were useless as the admiral simply froze the first limb that touched him. Nami stifled a gasp as she reached for her clean attack. He took down all three of our best fighters. We need to get Robin out of here. She whispered to Usopp, who was ready to lift the frozen woman and run to the ship with Chopper. For God's sake, don't save a woman like her, Aokiji stated as he lifted his hand with the intention of shattering Robin into 1,000 pieces. The monster trio, still trying to save their own limbs, wouldn't protect them now as Nami pulled the clean attack out and blocked the punch aimed at Robin's figure. I won't let you hurt Robin Ne-san. The pirate world is supposed to be filled with women like her. The navigator's temporary block was able to buy time for Usopp and Chopper to get away with Robin, but angered the dangerous man she held back. Stand aside, woman. Aokiji flung Nami to the side easily and was prepared to freeze yet another pest as Luffy and the rest of the monster trio circled him. How dare you hurt a lady? Sanji seethed, feeling a bit disheveled with one of his legs was frozen. I don't understand how men like you can agree to the fact that women can survive in a world like this. Shouldn't they stay safely at home? All they do is cause trouble for men. The Tan Admiral spoke, his eyes never straying from Luffy's face. Shut the fuck up. Women can be as strong as men. Zoro spoke through gritted teeth, fully intending on slaughtering the man who spoke ill of Luffy. No, not only that. But he spoke ill of Kuina and all the other girls he met that surely could take any guy down. Stop. Luffy's voice broke through the tangible tension in the air. Take Nami and run back to the ship. I want to fight him mano a mano. You're not serious. Nami lifted herself from the ground. You'll die. Oi, don't do this. We can take him, all of us together. Sanji attempted to grab Luffy's shoulder but was harshly pushed back by none other than Zoro. He said to go, you idiot. The words passed through Zoro's chapped lips reluctantly as he started to walk away hurriedly, Nami running after him. Are you crazy? Why are you leaving him all alone? She tried to hit the swordsman in the head but stopped herself when she saw the look on his face. Leaving Luffy alone was affecting him the most. His face was set in a grim mask almost too tense for his own good. Nami feared a blood vessel would rupture if the swordsman didn't clamp down. Sanji hurriedly joined them, shaking his head in disbelief. Certainly, Zoro couldn't know about Luffy being a girl. And he certainly couldn't love her. No way in hell would he have ever left her with a Supreme Admiral if he had. There was no way. Mano a mano, he said. Mano a mano. Zoro managed to say through painfully gritted teeth. Not believing she could take on that bulk of Admiral shit would be like agreeing with him. Luffy is stronger than that. Stronger than any woman I know. But why do I still feel like I need to protect her? Meanwhile, Chopper and Usopp hurriedly tried to thaw out Robin. My hand is freezing, Chopper whined as his hooves made contact with frozen limbs. Robin is suffering much more than we are. We need to help her. Usopp's voice came out shakily as he tried to maneuver the water from the shower to hit Robin directly. I'm doing everything I can. Chopper dumped buckets of water carefully over Robin's frozen form, only stopping when he heard shouts outside the ship. Even from inside the small bathroom he could hear them from way outside. Go check outside. I think they're back. I'll try to keep on defrosting her. If we add too much heat she might die, and if we don't go fast enough her heart will stop beating, so go get Nami to help us. The small reindeer shot out commands hastily and the long-nosed boy quickly obeyed. Where the hell is Luffy? Usopp shouted when he realized only Nami, Sanji and Zoro had come back. Shut up. We need to defrost, Zoro shouted. He was in no mood to speak of how he had abandoned Luffy. "Bu, but Robin's in the bathtub. Chopper said you guys need to put water on the frozen area and then just massage to get heat back in. Nami, come help with Robin." The long-nosed boy shouted from his position on the ship's deck. Sanji and Zoro wasted no time in jumping straight into the ocean, the small part that hadn't been affected by Aokiji's blatant show of power. After getting feeling back in their frozen limbs, they quickly made their way onto deck where Usopp flooded them with questions, which Zoro had no patience to answer. Not when Luffy could possibly be suffering a painful death. Or even worse, being kidnapped by the damn Admiral and forcing her into a shotgun wedding. Zoro seethed at the idea. "What the hell do you mean? Captain's orders?" Usopp shouted, noticing the steam coming off Zoro. He warily stayed away and aimed his own anger at Sanji. The blonde could only mutter that it was man's dignity or something along those lines to distract the teen. "Isn't it just cause you're scared? You're so friggin' cruel." Usopp's rambling was cut short when Sanji took him by the collar and slammed him harshly on the door leading to the lounge. "Shut the hell up. Try to fucking understand what a command is. What mano a mano means. You're such a friggin' idiot. You think we wanted to leave him? You think I wouldn't have?" Sanji couldn't continue when he felt an immense dark aura surround him. Not even Usopp could flail around as he swallowed nervously and looked at Zoro's figure. The green-haired swordsman sat on the floor, his face contorted as if he was in pain. "Shut the fuck up. This isn't the time for you idiots to argue. This time is crucial. We need to be prepared. We need to be calm and prepare for the worst. This can be the end of us if something happens to Luffy. So why don't you calm yourselves down before I make you?" And no one spoke for a long time afterwards. Thump, 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 thump. It was happening again, that feeling of not being able to hear anything but her own heart. Luffy carefully looked at Aokiji. The lump in her throat was beating like her heart and made her even more nervous. It was strange actually, she had never been this scared stiff in a long time, not since Shing in the island with Ace. Thump, 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 thump. Her heart had moved into her ears, almost making it impossible for her to hear the wind rustle the grass. Aokiji waited for a response, not even looking as if he was going to battle. "Promise me that you won't touch my crew." The tall admiral just shrugged casually, taking this as a sign Luffy attacked with all the power she had. Shouting out her attacks one after another, using her rubbery limbs to strengthen the force of her punches. She became breathless in a matter of minutes, not even managing to touch Aokiji. Her fists were blue as if having frostbite, but she paid no mind to the insane burning and stood her ground. "You're a strange child." The admiral gave no time for Luffy to respond to his retort as he suddenly extended his arms as if to hug her. In midst of the confusion, Luffy didn't notice him whisper the words, "Ice time," and suddenly everything had ceased to exist except the sound of her slowly beating heart. Thump. Thump. Two. Tisk. Tisk. I got tricked by a mere little girl. Aokiji ran a hand through his afro. "If I attack your crew I would be breaking my promise. Right, Captain?" The older man spoke to Luffy's figure frozen in a fighting stance. The admiral raised his fist to shatter the small girl but stopped himself midway. "I don't feel as if killing you would be necessary. After all, you did do the Navy a favor by getting rid of Crocodile in Alabasta. And your old man would probably be furious. This is so troublesome. You're just a weak little girl, nothing compared to me. I guess I'll be a bit lenient on you." His hand stroked Luffy's frozen cheek. "You would have made a good daughter-in-law, a wife to some marine or another. Too bad this world corrupted such a fine youth. Your grandpa wouldn't shut up about you when you were young. Hey?" With those last words, Aokiji made his way towards the horizon looking for the bike he was traveling on. Yes, a small little bike, not even a ship. Navy admirals sure are strange creatures. Hurried footsteps could be the only thing heard around the battlefield. Dress shoes and combat boots made their way carefully, trying to avoid falling on the patches of ice visible everywhere. "He's over there," Sanji's clear voice shouted to Zoro, who for some reason was faster than him. It seemed impossible. After all the damn Marimo fought with swords, Sanji's legs should have been stronger and taken him faster to where Luffy stood frozen in place. But that wasn't the case. He had been lagging, following behind the swordsman who still held that heavy guilt atmosphere around him. "Let's take him to the ship." Sanji seemed to be the only one willing to talk as Zoro just let out a breath of relief at seeing his captain not shattered in a million pieces. "Oi Marimo, hurry you." Sanji didn't even have enough time to yell at Zoro when he realized the swordsman had already taken Luffy's frozen figure and was running back carefully, while carrying the girl as best he could. Sanji couldn't help but stare at Zoro's retreating back. The man acted as if he was the only one worrying about Luffy, like if he had the only right to save her. He couldn't help wondering what would it have been like if he had been the first person Luffy had recruited into the crew. His heart tightened at the though. It wouldn't have been the same. Luffy found Zoro first for a reason. They shared a bond that Sanji felt was impenetrable by him. He felt like a third wheel, even though he knew very well that Zoro probably didn't know about Luffy's gender, probably. And even though Sanji had become attached to the rubber girl, he couldn't tell if it was the beginning of love or plain loyalty to his captain. Maybe Zoro had already gone through this dilemma and had decided. Or maybe he was too dense to realize he was madly in love with the girl. That dumbass Marimo can't even express his feeling correctly. Sanji made his way back to the ship just in time to see Zoro jumping into the sea, Luffy in his arms. Robin was still in the bathtub. The only choice to defrost Luffy was the sea. The salt in it would hopefully help dissolve the ice. Sanji couldn't help but wonder who would help change Luffy into dry clothes. A nosebleed proceeded to spurt out and he was already yelling at Zoro to not do something lewd if he really would kick his brain out. Zoro, holding onto Luffy so she wouldn't sink into the sea because of her devil fruit abilities, avoided the crew members' glances so they wouldn't see the spreading blush on his face. Thump. You can't be a pirate, you're just a little girl. Thump. A person like you isn't suited to be a pirate. Thump. Why can't you just act more womanly? Thump. A vision of red hair made the voices of everyone else disappear from Luffy's groggy mind. We'll meet again when you accomplish your dream, Anchor. The famous red-haired Shanks placed a beaten straw hat on the head of a crying child. I'll definitely become a pirate. The small 7 years old, Luffy, hiccuped out through thick tears. Just a pirate? Shanks' voice was a deep reassurance of her dreams. No, I wanna be king of the pirates. Luffy squeaked out, looking at her hero's smile through heavy eyelids. "Ah, really?" The older man let out a laugh. "Then work hard. I'll wait for you, kiddo. Catch up to me. You're probably already stronger than most of my men." His deep laugh comforted her. Thump. It was possible to be a pirate, right, Shanks? Even amidst a world controlled by men, she could still hope to be Pirate King. No, she would be Pirate King and show everyone that they were wrong. "You idiot, why are you smiling in your dream? You almost died, dumbass." Zoro whispered, his head snuggled in the crook of Luffy's shoulder. He was holding her to keep her warm, of course, and Chopper had already said that Luffy was safe just as long as her heart kept on beating. Sanji had wanted to keep her warm at first, but like hell would he have let another guy touch Luffy. He lay carefully with Luffy on top of him in a bundle of blankets, all in the comfort of the couch in the men's room of the ship. It was nice. He could probably take the best nap in his life just laying there and holding Luffy close. His face heated up as he remembered what he had to go through to get here. A brawl with Sanji over who would change Luffy out of her dripping wet clothes, and only winning out of luck when Robin weakly opened her eyes and requested something hot to drink. Then he was stuck with the trouble. A voice in his head whispered, pleasure, of changing Luffy. It wasn't difficult. She wore her usual attire of the red vest and jean shorts, so all he had to do was hurriedly take them off. No problem, right? Wrong. He had decided way before that he would leave her chest bindings and underwear. After all, they shouldn't be that soaked. But every time he tried to unbutton either her vest or her pants, it all went downhill. It had come to a point where he had to blindfold himself with his bandana in order not to panic, and with trembling hands he had managed to change Luffy into one of his overly large shirts. It was the only clothes that were close enough, plus he didn't want to go through her belonging. It had nothing to do with the fact that he liked seeing her in his clothes. Nothing. He wasn't possessive of her. Not at all. The fact that he would growl and glare at anyone who interrupted his time holding the unconscious girl didn't mean he was possessive. Nope. Zoro's face furiously changed into a scarlet color. He began reciting his mantra again. "Nay, Zoro, your heartbeat is really loud." A soft, groggy voice came from the bundle he was holding. "Ah fuck." Unconsciously Luffy moved to the heat source and listened. This heartbeat was a lot better sounding than her own. It made her think that she was not alone in her pursuit of her dream. "I wub Zoro, he the best furb mate," Luffy quietly said with a bit of difficulty from being muffled into Zoro's chest. The swordsman stayed completely still, not knowing what to do, his heartbeat quickening. It heart was going to jump out, but he stayed still and swallowed the lump in his throat. Yeah. Zoro wanted to slam his head badly against the wall. What the fuck? He just said, yeah, dumbly. He could have said something else like, me too, but then that meant he loved her. Then wait, was she talking about love, or love? His head pounded in confusion until he heard small snores escape her lips. Thank God, that was over. Now he could just try and calm himself down. Maybe he should have just let Chopper warm her up after changing her. His face heated up again. He cursed his unstable emotions. I'm going to stab my heart with Watto if it doesn't calm the fuck down. Upstairs in the deck, Sanji poured Nami a hot cup of tea. She was studying the map in her hands carefully when Usopp initiated a conversation from his position rolling on the floor. Are we going to run into more strong guys like that? The long-nosed teen stared at the older two in his presence. Nami and Sanji gave each other questioning looks before Nami answered quietly while blowing on her tea. Of course, there's plenty of people in the world stronger than us. Stronger than Luffy. She shuddered thinking about how the boy looked so fragile in his unconscious state. That's why we have to get stronger too. To help him, Sanji inserted, looking down on the tanned teen. I'm just glad it's all over. Now we can just relax and find someone to fix Mary and hopefully not run into people like that again. Usopp slowly let his eyelids drop, wishing that when he opened them everything would be better. Don't worry, Luffy is strong. That kid will never die, Nami asserted herself, nervously laughing. Yeah, Usopp told himself quietly. Poke poke. Poke. The green-haired swordsman batted the hand away. Maybe the annoying pest would go away like that. Jab. Wah. Zoro opened his eyes, vein throbbing and ready to punch someone out when he came to his senses. Nay. Zoro. I wanna leave. It morning already. What if we reached the new island already? Luffy questioned from above. Zoro's hand held her hip tightly to his body. Quickly the swordsman let go, mumbling apologies and not daring to look up. Once freed from Zoro's grip, Luffy had gotten up and was prancing around looking for her clothes. The sight of her small frame with an overly big shirt was far too dangerous for Zoro. His eyes were glued to the floor. His ears perked at the rustling of fabric. Surely she wouldn't get changed there, would she? No. Luffy wasn't that careless to get changed right in front of him, right? Ah fuck. Who was he kidding? Zoro was brought out of his thoughts when a shirt came flying to his face. That was your shirt, right, Zoro? Luffy piped up, buttoning the last button to her usual vest. Zoro guffawed nervously. Would she put the pieces together? Or was she too dense to notice that he knew her secret? I wonder why Robin changed me into your clothes. HNNN. It's a mystery. Luffy tapped a finger against her lip questionably. Robin? Zoro asked, more to himself than to Luffy. Ah, is Robin okay? She didn't die, right? No, I like Robin. Luffy shouted, propelling herself towards the staircase to go out and find the woman in question. Zoro was left alone in his thoughts. Tisk. I knew it. That woman knew all along. Fuck. Maybe it's a good thing. She hasn't turned into a traitor and seems to care for Luffy. And as long as she's here to take care of her, I don't need to repeat yesterday's changing incident. Zoro didn't know if he was a bit disappointed or thankful. She. Luffy snickered as she ran up from behind Robin and hugged her frame. Robin is okay. Now we can continue our adventure together. Appearing much like a monkey, Luffy clung to Robin and shouted to Nami. Where's the next island? We need to find a cool shipwright. A new nakama. Chopper cheered. Uh-huh. And he's gonna be super cool. Luffy walked towards the small reindeer. Usopp, pulling out a random sketchpad, drew a doodle of his ideal shipwright, a man that surprisingly held a striking resemblance to himself. Luffy, getting exited, snatched the book from Usopp and began drawing her shipwright. No, the shipwright needs to be a lady. There is already too many smelly guys on board this damn ship. Sanji fumed, worried that another man would corrupt Luffy. Zoro, appearing from the hatch on the floor that led to the men's room, yawned in irritation. His eyes bulged out dramatically when he saw what Luffy drew, a man in a speedo with muscles. What kind of man did she plan on having on this ship? Was that her type? Wasn't he good enough? And who the fuck went around only wearing a speedo? Zoro's face went grim. Maybe he should wear a speedo? It was warm outside when Sanji decided to feed the crew his new dish, thinking it was appropriate to wash out any of Luffy's strange ideas about men in speedos. Giving the plate of food to Luffy, she calmed down immediately and chose to look at the ocean while swinging her feet idly. The blonde chef had refused to feed Zoro and a mini-fight broke out. Yet again, they immediately stood to a halt when they heard Luffy scream in excitement. The crew turned to see what their captain was pointing to in the vast sea. It's a frog, and it's swimming freestyle. The captain's eyes were full of starts as she was prepared to lunge herself at it. Usopp and Chopper, being at her immediate sides, had to catch her before she could go anywhere. There is no way a frog can swim like Daa. Catch that frog, Nami yelped after spotting the immense creature next to their ship. Follow him. If we catch him, maybe we can get a buttload of belly. Nami's mind already reeled with money signs. Forget about that. We can make him into barbecue, Sanji commented, helping the guys steer their ship towards the frog. Suddenly the frog stopped, pushing the ship away from its path. What the? How can it be so strong to move the ship? Usopp questioned, his eyes and everyone else's going wide when they saw a huge ship coming directly towards the frog. Get out of there, you'll get killed by that weird steam-puffing ship. Luffy screamed frantically. The frog paid no attention and was hit head-on with the ship. He was thrown somewhere far away. The pirate crew couldn't believe their eyes while facing the immense ship. They had never seen anything like it before. Steamboats were too heavy to float like that. How could it possibly be in the middle of the ocean? Following the course of the train, the crew found a small lighthouse just in the middle of nowhere. A small creepy child who didn't stop smiling ran towards them holding her rabbit. Granny, it's pirates, pirates. Are we in trouble? She sounded worried, yet the wide smile never left her face. An old lady stepped out, but immediately fell to the ground. Whether it was her weight that kept her down or the amount of liquor in her system, the crew couldn't tell. Pirates? Hyor. Wa brings ya here? The old lady's drunken slur caught the pirate's attention. "Y'all aren't here to steal my train?" "No, we're just looking for an island to fix our ship and find a shipwright." Nami tried to soothe the woman and her grandchild. "Oh, I see. Y'all aren't that bad then, I guess." The old woman spoke warily, her drunken slur apparently gone. "I'm Chimney." The strange child perked up. "This is Gonbi the cat." She pointed towards the rabbit at her feet. "This is Granny Kokura." Her hand extended towards the old woman already drinking from a rum bottle that appeared magically. "What you just saw wasn't a boat. It was Puffing Tom. He's the first of his kind. A train on rail tracks running on top of the ocean. Amazing, right? Y'all probably saw Yokojina. He's a stubborn frog who won't stop trying to prove his strength and keeps on getting hit by Puffing Tom. He won't die from a hit like that. He'll just come back to compete again." She said all this in a matter of seconds, her broad smile never fading. "Ah, is that so? I won't eat hard-working animals." "Sanji, you can't cook him." Luffy scolded. The blonde cost laughed. "So where are you guys going?" Granny Kokura questioned. "We need to go west, that's what the log post says. But we're looking for a shipwright." Nami answered back, having adopted the position as speaker of the crew. "Ah, then y'all need to go to Water 7. You'll find everything you need and more. Or you might lose something precious." "Oh, who knows?" The granny spoke, laughing all the while. "Take this. It's a letter of recommendation to Iceberg. He'll be sure to fix y'all ship up good." The wide-toothy grin didn't disappear from the old woman's face even after the pirates turned around to board their ship. "Water 7 sounds really cool." Luffy pumped her fist in the air in excitement. "Yeah. We'll trade in our gold we got in Skypia for belly and then hire a good shipwright." Nami calculated the amounts in her head. The granny's warning rung in everyone's mind as they navigated the ship towards the new island. Water 7 would be sure to bring a new adventure for the pirate crew. Chapter 12, Yesterday's Friend. The burning, searing pain erupted from behind her eyes. It was too much. Everything was just too damn much for her. Luffy curled up on the bed, hugging her knees closely to her chest, begging time to stop so she could collect her thoughts. Her throat ached madly. Funny thing was she hadn't spoken a word. Instead, all she did was internalize her screams. How long had she sat there crying? Her cheeks had already started burning due to the salt in her tears. She didn't even bother looking out the window of the hotel she stayed at, courtesy of some of Nami's backup money. The room was bathed in darkness, a slither of light coming from the moon's natural shine. Clutching her hands, she felt her nails dig into her skin, forming half moons on her tanned skin, but she could care less. The iconic straw hat was left on the side of the bed, abandoned. Her normally soft tresses of hair were wildly meshed up, and her face was out of sight as she buried it in her knees. Were the only noises that came out occasionally. She had a faint idea that she must look like an absolute mess, and told herself to stop. She had to stop looking so fucking weak. "I misjudged you, Luffy. You're nothing but a cold-hearted bastard. You'll never be Pirate King." Usopp shouted, using the last of his strength to push Luffy to the ground. The sharpshooter's body was covered in bandages, a sign of his past conflict with the Frankie family. "Usopp, you don't mean that," Nami shrieked at the younger teen. "We're Nakama, we're family." She clutched onto the ship's railing, knowing that Usopp's outburst was a result of the news that his precious ship couldn't be fixed. "Yeah, I thought we were family. But, this bastard can get rid of Mary so easily? He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about any of us," Usopp shouted out as he raised a trembling fist to punch Luffy's determined face. Luffy stood abruptly before the punch could ever touch her, and delivered her own last hit. "Do what you want, Usopp. The rest of us are leaving. Take Mary." "Don't show me your pity," Usopp sobbed out. "It was fun, Usopp. We had good times. Sayonara." Luffy stated one last time as she picked up the beaten straw hat and walked away, ordering her crew to follow her. "Luffy, you can't be serious. I thought we were a family," Chopper cried out, trying to make his way to the bloodied teen, only hindered by Zoro's steel grip. Clenching her teeth, Luffy let out a shuddering breath. Nothing was going the way it was supposed to. She was supposed to visit the carpenters at Water 7 with Nami and Usopp. They were supposed to give Iceberg the message from Granny Kokura. He was supposed to send one of his best carpenters and fix the ship. Fix Mary. And then they were supposed to leave and go to the next island. They were supposed to get a bit closer to One Piece. Together. As nakama. Instead, everything shattered around her own eyes. Usopp had been kidnapped by some hooligans, the notorious Frankie family. Although she had avenged him alongside Zoro, Sanji and Chopper. Usopp couldn't handle the news. The news that Mary was unfixable. Damaged beyond repair. To add to the day's misfortunes, Robin had run away. With some guy in a mask. She cursed internally. Apparently Luffy wasn't the great captain everyone thought she was. "Come back. Please. Just come back home with me, Luff," Ace whispered desperately. Maybe Ace had been right all along. Maybe she wasn't suited to be a pirate. She bit her tongue harshly, almost coughing when she tasted metal. When she was back home, she knew people left her because they had to. Not because they wanted to. That made all the difference in the pain she felt clutch her chest. It almost made her want to throw up. Caught up in her thoughts, Luffy didn't realize someone had come into the room not until the bed dipped with an extra weight. She had no time to look up when an arm was placed around her shoulder and she was forcibly brought down to rest on a broad chest. "Don't be sad. Please," Ace whispered to a crying Luffy who clung on desperately to her older brother. "You're a good captain, no matter what anyone says." The voice came from the person holding Luffy closely. She almost thought it was her brother for a second and let herself snuggle into the embrace. The smell of freshly cut metal and mint brought her out of the memories. The intruder didn't smell like her brother. No, this was someone else. This smell was distinctively. Zoro the green-haired swordsman couldn't explain how he had gotten to Luffy's bed, but he did, and now he couldn't stop himself from hugging her small form. His collarbone almost hurt from the pressure that surrounded his chest, and it wasn't from Luffy's weight but from how his heart lurched at the sight of her tears. Raising her face with a free hand, his body reacted purely on instincts. He just wanted to see her eyes. That's it. It was a purely innocent thought as he forced her to look up at him with big tears threatening to fall from her eyelashes. At that moment something clicked in his mind, and it all made sense to him. He was in love with her. He couldn't stand seeing her in pain. Those tears didn't belong on her face. She was always supposed to be happy. He debated the idea of looking for Usopp and Robin himself, breaking their legs and dragging them back just to make her stop the tears. His eyes traveled down to her lips, and he could feel himself have a hard time breathing. They had curled themselves up into a pout, one that he had hardly seen her use. It was all surreal. The moment, the occasion, the events leading up to it, but he just wanted the sudden pounding of his heart to stop as he placed his forehead on hers. "I'll never leave you," Zoro whispered out, his breath mingling with her own small puffs of air. "Zoro." Luffy felt a sudden mass get stuck in her throat and all she could actually think about was Zoro's green eyes. Her thought on Usopp and Robin were erased for a moment and all she could really concentrate on was Zoro's face. There was a heat radiating from his hands on her cheeks, and a streak of red making its way across his nose. It was something Luffy had never seen on the swordsman, and it was completely breathtaking. She vaguely wondered if Ace had ever looked like this. She looked through her memories for any recollection of any of the men she met looking like this. "What the fuck are you doing?" A loud yell broke through the pair's hypnotically stare. A well-aimed kick to Zoro's face sent the teen flying to the corner of the room. Luffy couldn't help but let a small chuckle come out at the sight of Zoro. She had definitely seen tons of people look like that, angry and embarrassed on the ground. Suddenly much softer hands clutched Luffy's face. A blue eye and blonde hair invade her line of sight. "Are you okay, Luffy?" Sanji's frantic worried tone reached Zoro's ears. The green-haired swordsman shot up and reached for the nearest weapon he could find. "You shitty cook." A pillow was hurled to the blonde's face as Luffy stared at the oncoming fight with wonder. "Me? You're the one molesting our captain?" The blonde shot up, leaving Luffy to just chuckle at the scene. "I wasn't gonna molest him," Zoro shouted and a pillow fight erupted right then and there. Other pillows were suddenly brought into the mix and the two fighting teens suddenly realized Luffy had been throwing more fuel into the fire. But before both men could tackle the girl in good-hearted humor, a punch to both their heads made them cry out in pain. When they both looked up, Nami stood there with the door left opened, her fist seemed to be smoking from the impact. You idiotes, the orange-haired girl stated as she moved out of the way to let Chopper enter the room. The small reindeer carried a newspaper in his hooves and ran towards Luffy, only stopping when he smelled salt from her cheeks. Luffy, are you okay? Yeah, of course, why wouldn't I be? She. A fake laughter spilled FR to distract the fluffy doctor from noticing her weakness. This is no time to be playing around, Nami suddenly interjected, sensing that Luffy was hiding something but not wanting to pressure the teen to speak up. The orange-headed girl took the paper from Chopper's hooves and extended it so everyone could see. Look, can you believe this? Nami whispered harshly to her comrades. Nico Robin found attacking iceberg. Straw Hat pirates are murderers. Luffy read the headline to herself and suddenly shouted in surprise. How can this be? We didn't do this. Robin couldn't have done this. Sanji trailed off to himself. Maybe what that admiral said was true. She really is evil, Nami commented lightly. Nope. Luffy shouted. Robin is innocent, and, if we have to prove it then we'll just have to catch her. She gave her crew a big smile. We should move fast then, Zoro said as he lifted the curtains from the window, seeing a small mob form outside their hotel. They seem pretty pissed off, tisk. Maybe if we talk to them, they'll let us go, Chopper shakily tried to stay optimistic. A rock shattered the window and screams could be heard outside. I guess that's a no. If we split up we should be able to make it to Iceberg's headquarters to find out the truth. Nami schemed their plan out quickly, as the shouts approached them faster. Is this where those damn straw hats are? Came a loud booming voice from the roof of the adjacent building. The crew turned to see a man wearing nothing but a Speedo and a Hawaiian shirt. His hair was a crazy shade of blue and styled upwards. Nonetheless, the pirate crew started to escape, ignoring the crazy man. I am Frankie, of the Frankie family, prepared to meet your match Youdamn pirates. How dare you attack my brothers? He referred to how the crew avenged Usopp, but that didn't matter. A sudden explosion of the room brought the whole town to a halt. What the hell are you doing, Frankie? Someone get him. He's trying to get at the pirates first, what the fuck? Oblivious to the townspeople's anger, Frankie jumped down to inspect the once hotel room. They escaped, he said dramatically. Two women appeared behind him, with crazy squared afros. Oh no. Damn it, Frankie roared as he stroked a pose. Luffy's sandals made tiku-tiku sounds as she ran with Nami by her side. They were heading to the shipyards. Surely, the shipwrights there would explain the situation better to them. It was an easy plan Nami had formulated in her head and she relayed it to the rest as they split up to escape the freaky blue-haired man. Luffy and her were supposed to track down a carpenter to lead them to Iceberg, get the truth out of them, while Sanji, Zoro and Chopper were to track down Robin around the city. Simple. Really, the plan was flawless. That was until a dagger grazed her cheek. The navigator winced, her hand flying to aid the scratch, but as soon as she brought her hand to her face she noticed she was actually bleeding. Wah? Nami spoke up, her eyes traveling towards Luffy. Surely, he was supposed to make a scene by now if his nakama was hurt. She was met with the sight of Luffy tangled up with rope, courtesy of an older smoking blonde. He resembled Sanji only in the way he held his cigar. Other than that, his movements were harsh and ungraceful as he tightened the rope around Luffy. Polly? Nami shouted as another dagger nearly missed her face. Stop hurling things at Nami, you freak. Luffy fought against her restraints, screaming at a young man with circular eyes and a rectangular nose. Kaku, we don't want to hurt the lady, just this one, Polly yelled back, but the younger man had other plans as he hurled yet another dagger towards the navigator. If you think I'm just gonna stand down and do nothing, you got something else coming, Nami shouted as she dodged, fingering her weapon under her skirt in precaution. We're all friends here, stop hurting her, Luffy shouted, wiggling to get closer to Polly. Yeah, that's what we thought. Sept, you went around our backs and attacked Iceberg. He's our boss. More than that, he's like our brother, Polly yelled. We didn't do, Luffy exclaimed. She was cut off by a sudden deep voice from above the building surrounding the shipyard. Polly. Iceberg woke up. He wishes to speak with you, you idiot. Let us deal with them. The source of the voice was a small white pigeon on a man's shoulder, his long wavy hair getting caught in the wind. Ah, it's that ventriloquist. You were the one who saved our money when it was taken, Surely you know we're not bad, Nami shouted. The man seemed unaffected and jumped downwards right in front of Luffy. Unite him, Polly, the bird said for its master. Whatever you say, weirdo. Just make sure they get what they deserve, Luchi. The older man made a run for it, leaving Luffy and Nami at Luchi and Kaku's mercy. Nami, go find Zoro, Sanji. Anybody. Just run away. Luffy pushed her out of the way as soon as she had her arms free. She didn't have to be told twice as she made a mad run for her life, stopping when she found shelter behind a solid building. Okay. So her plan wasn't perfect, but they would get out of this alive, right? Luffy felt his stare and she absolutely felt like crawling out of her skin. Kaku, why don't you go and protect Iceberg? I have everything under control. The bird spoke yet again for Luchi. Ha! Yeah, gotcha boss. Not you Hattori. Kaku commented as he broke into a run, and in a matter of seconds, he was halfway across town towards Iceberg's home. Are you afraid? The pigeon glared at Luffy. Great, she not only had a pair of menacing eyes upon her, she had two. That damn bird. At first, it was cute, but now it was getting annoying. Why should I be? Luffy growled out, sensing the man in front of her was stronger than he looked. Luchi stepped forward, his dress shoes clicked on the pavement. Luffy held her ground, staring directly into his dark eyes. Luffy didn't know how the next events happened, but she suddenly felt the raspy hair of Luchi's goatee near her cheek. He was close, too close. She stopped herself from making a disgusted noise. She could feel him smirk next to her ear. Because, you're about to lose everything. Luchi spoke quietly, almost sadistically, into Luffy's ear. He smiled, raising a hand to Luffy's shoulder. She jerked at his touch. His voice sounded completely different when he spoke. Instead of the Hattori, his pigeon. It was 10 times creepier, and Luffy couldn't help but jump back. We didn't do anything. We didn't hurt Iceberg. Robin didn't. Luffy trailed off. Her eyes concentrated on Luchi's smirk. I still have my nakama. I still have them, she gulped. You know, people always look cuter when they fear me. You should work on that, Luchi said, enjoying the way Luffy had broken out into a sweat. I can imagine how you'll look when I take everything from you. Straw Hat. His lips formed a cruel smile. What the hell are you talking about? Right at that instant, a piercing scream was heard throughout the whole island. Iceberg, it was distinctively Polly's voice, but it was bathed in pain and agony, almost as if he had gotten hurt. That was Polly. Who would? Luffy hurriedly turned back to meet Luchi's eyes, but he was gone, her question left in midair. Why doesn't anybody listen to me? God? Luffy started to grumble to herself as she slingshot herself to the location of the voice. Surely her crew would meet there. What do you mean Sanji left? Nami spoke, almost discouraged, calming herself down after running away from a tense scene with Luchi and Luffy. I was with him, and he suddenly yelled at me to get you guys, but I had no clue what he was doing until he pushed me out of the way and he ran away? Chopper said through chattering teeth, and finally just shouted the rest of his message. And he said he would track down Robin, because his job was to forgive any woman's lies. Zoro sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Was Robin good or B? But he was getting her back. If it made Luffy feel better, he would chain a sea stone to her neck until her devil fruit power were sucked out of her. He had no clue if the stone actually had that power. Neither did he care. He was brought out of his thoughts when he heard the same piercing scream Luffy heard miles away. Nami had been in mid-conversation with Chopper on how Zoro managed to find the small reindeer and not get completely lost when she was pushed out of the way. I'm going up there, Zoro muttered before running towards the gates, which were protected by hundreds of carpenters and citizens, well bent on forcing his way into the damn building. What? Are you crazy? Nami and Chopper both simultaneously screamed. They're not the enemy. We can't hurt innocent people. Nami tried to calm the swordsman down, holding his arm with the strongest grip she had. Swish! The trio looked up and saw a rocketing Luffy bursting into the building's top floor, shattering the wall. Luffy! Nami cried out, letting Zoro go in the process. I'm gonna follow my captain. Got any problems with that? Zoro briskly said, while fingering his swords. Don't worry, I'll only use the hilt of my swords on these innocent people. He smirked and lunged at the crowd. Luffy lied on the ground for a while, Observing the creases on the ceiling, she felt the cold of the tiles stick to her skin and she sighed. How the hell did I get stuck? She started replaying the events of her crashing through the wall in her head. What the hell do you mean how? You idiot. You were just trapped here by that guy in the friggin' mask, a voice nearby said. Luffy turned her head easily due to her rubber powers, but her restraints, well, kept her in place. Polly, but you were the one screaming. Luffy, obviously confused, didn't comprehend the magnitude of the situation. That was until she felt something wet near her restrained wrist. You're hurt? Luffy yelped as she realized the blood loss coming from the older carpenter. You're slew, of course I'm fucking hurt. He groaned in pain when he tried to move. Both were tied down by restraints on the floor, apparently left to die slowly. Oh, damn, Luffy suddenly spoke up. Hey, I'm sorry, for attacking you. I thought you guys were the culprits, but you're innocent. Why did you even come then? Polly suddenly spoke, wincing at his wounds. They stole one of my crew members. I came to get her back, Luffy smiled out. Nico Robin. Right? Polly paused, contemplating the mysterious woman. You're strong, right? I mean, you don't look it. You kinda look all scrawny like a girl or something. Luffy pouted but told his otherwise. I'm stronger than I look. Good then. Fight alongside me. Polly squeezed shut his tired eyes. I'm gonna save Iceberg if it's the last thing I do. Luffy gazed at the older man. Iceberg. He's my teacher, y'all. No. He made me what I am today. A shipwright. Because of him, I chased my dream. And I can save him. I don't care if I die. Polly wept, his last resolve fighting against the restraint. But you're hurt. You can't possibly. Luffy tried to say but understood how the other man felt. If she was ever in his situation where one of his loved ones was going to be killed, she would risk her life. She would be willing to die for any of her nakama. For Shanks, Makino, Garp, even the old mayor, and Ace. Of course, she would give up her life for her brothers. She smiled and Polly looked at her with bewildered eyes. What the fuck are you smiling about? We're gonna die, if we don't get out of the restraints first, y'all know. He didn't even need to finish the sentence. Luffy had already escaped her restraints due to her powers and was smashing his with her bare hands. Let's go save Iceberg, and get my nakama back, Luffy chirped as she helped Polly get to his feet. The shipwright chuckled and couldn't help but ruffle Luffy's hair as he placed the hat he recovered from the floor on its rightful place. Seriously though, are you really strong enough to take on these men? Polly shook his head, remembering how he had no chance against them. Confidently, Luffy simply barged through a wall, destroying everything in the process. When they found Iceberg, he was in a puddle of blood, his eyes closed and unmoving. Polly was the first to reach down and check his vitals. The blue-haired man suddenly awoke and clenched Polly's wrist. Whatever you do, don't let them. Take, Fr Frankie. CP9. Pluton. He trailed off, darting a look at the destroyed wall. I'm sorry boss, I didn't save the blueprints for you. Don't worry, we'll fix you up. Polly spoke, Luffy hovering over him. Oi, this is where you were. Zoro bust into the room, Nami and Chopper following behind. As soon as the reindeer spotted the injured men, he ran to give assistance. He was barely done bandaging them up when a chill made his fur stand on end. Straw Hat-kun. The same deep voice from before called out. Luffy turned quickly, knowing whose voice it was. Luchi, I'm glad you're here. How about helping us out? We can get to a hospital and save Iceberg. They've already given us fist aid, but we need to get away before they come back. Wait. Polly looked into Luchi's ice-cold face. Your voice is the same as the masked guy who attacked me. You, Polly donned with realization. Luchi smirked, signaling for his companions to arrive. With him was Robin and the rest of Water 7's beloved shipwrights. Khalifa, Kaku, Bluno. What? Polly couldn't finish the sentence as Kaku lunged at him, kicking him painfully in his wounds. Robin, what are you doing with them? Come back. Nami shouted at the cool beauty, but she said nothing and turned away. I thought you guys were my friends, Polly screamed as he attempted to fight back, only to have Luffy pull him back and take the punch from Luchi. You were the only one who, though, that idiot. Luchi spoke freely, no bird needed to disguise himself. Luchi, it's almost time. The blonde, ex-trusted secretary of Iceberg, spoke as she pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose. Luffy attempted to punch all of them at once with her rubber arm but was suddenly pieced in the stomach by Luchi's hand. Luffy, Zoro growled and ran towards the goateed man, but was hindered by Kaku. The swordsman barely got his sword out when Kaku stabbed him with his bare hand, as Luchi did to Luffy. "What did I say about being scared, Luffy?" Luchi spoke, fingering Luffy's throat as he dangled her, almost choking her if she had not been a rubber man. "Leave him the fuck alone," Zoro yelled as Luchi suddenly smashed her head against the floor while smiling. Kaku didn't let Zoro even think about helping as he suddenly picked him up and lunged the swordsman out of the building. The swordsman went flying out, gritting his teeth in the process. "Zoro!" Nami cried out. No way were the strongest people in their crew being beaten so easily in front of her eyes. She tried to reach out to Robin once more. "Robin, do you really want to abandon us? Do we mean nothing to you?" The navigator burst out in violent tears, trying to ignore how Luffy clawed at Luchi's hand to get air and how he desperately still tried to protect Polly and Iceberg. "Luchi, it's time we leave." Robin ignored Nami's question and addressed the leader of the now-turned assassins. "I never said you can order me around. But yes, you are right." Luchi stood, and just as easily as Kaku did, he flung Luffy out of the building to who knows where. "You see, you are all going to die anyways." Luchi smiled, knowing Luffy was going to follow him sooner or later and then he would play. "There's no need for minor characters. This building will burst in flames with you all in it." And with that said, the assassins left the remaining weak and disheartened crew to die. "She didn't mean that. Nico, Robin. She's doing this so that her crew can live." Iceberg spoke softly. The flames around them grew bigger and Nami could only try and UNTG, the rope courtesy of Polly's own weapon, used against him. "They want Pluton. It's bad. A weapon capable of destroying the world. And the government wants it." Iceberg winced, hoping his pet mouse was somewhere safe. "So you mean she's not a traitor?" Nami worked hurriedly, but the smoke was catching up with her. "Nami!" Chopper yelled as he shoved the girl out of the way of a crumbling wall, only to be buried in the debris. "Chopper!" Nami yelped, trying to get to the injured reindeer. "It's no hope, we're gonna die, and that damn Luchi won't even pay for it." Polly spoke, clutching his hand in a tight fist. "No, as soon as I tell Luffy he'll save everyone." Nami couldn't make a proper sentence as she fainted from the smoke. The two men tied up managed to get out of their restraints only to fall again. There was too much smoke. The townspeople outside worked feverishly to try to calm the fire. They all cried out when a small injured reindeer made its way to a safe patch of grass. He collapsed right then and there, but on his back was Iceberg, Polly and Nami. All injured but alive. "Isn't she one of the assassins? She's a Straw Hat pirate." The townspeople were ready to attack Nami when Iceberg weakly opened an eye and told them to leave her alone. Polly was the next to shoot up despite his injuries to tell the townspeople to buzz off. "She's our savior. Leave her alone. The Straw Hat pirates are innocent. They saved us from the real assassins." With that, the crowd immediately listened and started to help the injured, trying their best to pacify a heated Polly. "We need to find the kid. We need to find him," he spoke, though the town's doctors. "What kid? Is he talking about Straw Hat? Should we find him?" The town dispersed immediately, shouting for Luffy, and trying to find her wherever she might be. "Kaku. He threw Zoro too. You gotta find him, he's part of the monster trio." Nami spoke after a while of breathing fresh oxygen. "Monster trio?" Iceberg questioned through his aides hovering over him. "Don't worry, Asen. We'll save everyone." Nami spoke calmly, looking at the townspeople look all over for two of the strongest pirates she knew. Iceberg. A beaten man who resembled a gorilla with armor ran up to the injured mayor. "They kidnapped him. They kidnapped brother," the man sobbed out crazily. "Zambai, call yourself down and tell me what happened," Iceberg yelled, his voice still holding authority although his body was injured. "They kidnapped Frankie and the long-nosed Straw Hat pirate." The scared member of the Frankie family managed to shout out. "Where are they?" Polly suddenly yelled out. They were going to board the train. "The sea train," Zambai said as he ran to the aid of his fellow brothers, who followed him despite their own injuries. "We need to stop that train. Robin and Usopp are on it. Nami all but pulled her hair out in frustration. Find Luffy and Zoro. From way above, a figure held onto a bottle of rum and laughed an eerie cackle. Nay, Granny were so high up. Chimney spoke through a bright toothy smile. She held her cat in her arms. Oh ho ho, it seems like the time is coming, for the end of all of this. The old woman laughed to herself and took a swig of rum. Granny. The Straw Hat Pirates will make it right? The too happy to be normal child spoke casually, swinging from her position on the ledge of a building. Now, that all depends. If they are strong enough. The old lady smiled as she spotted where both Luffy and Zoro were but said nothing to the crowd below. Agua Laguna is comin', and it's gonna be a big one. Her slurred words made no impact on the child, but instead the two smiled simultaneously. I can sense a war is comin'. Granny Kokura spoke one last time before she stared out to the ocean's approaching waves. A war was definitely coming, one that would shake the pirate world to its core. Chapter 13. I can't let you go, even if I die. Luffy spluttered as her body thrashed around wildly. She was doing everything in her power to stay above the water, but the devil's fruit had left its curse and her body was sinking without her consent. Her lungs burned painfully as the salty sea made its way into her mouth. Had she not been so preoccupied trying to gain oxygen into her dying lungs, she would have realized the slight metallic taste the water held. Then suddenly she could breathe. She was heaving heavily trying to gain the courage to open her eyes. But she was so damn happy she could breathe again she could only force herself to clutch onto whatever saved her. Small hands met fabric drenched in a sticky substance. It contrasted greatly with the silky coolness of the splashing waves. The odd sensation finally prompted her to open her eyes. Red. Red was everywhere. The crimson color painted the surrounding water. It drenched the once crisp beige shirt she clung onto. It left stains on her small hands. But more importantly, it dripped from the area Shanks' left arm should have been. His shocking red hair almost blended with the morbid scene, and all 7-year-old Luffy could do was scream with all the air her lungs had previously been deprived of. She yelled until she thought her own throat would start bleeding, but the man holding her said nothing as he maneuvered them to land. He didn't weep, nor did he look like he was in immediate pain. Had his arm not been missing, Luffy would have thought the blood dripping from the torn shirt was a joke. I'm sorry, oh God, your arm. I'm sorry, Shanks. I'm sorry. Luffy repeatedly cried out. Shanks said nothing but let a wobbly smile appear on his face. When the two finally reached land, the rest of Shanks' crew appeared along with worried townspeople and medics. Everyone gasped seeing the two covered in blood, some even fainted at the sight of Shanks. His crew immediately surrounded their captain and Luffy was put into Makino's open arms. It was only when Luffy was cradled against the older woman did Shanks fall to his knees. He was shaking. A deathly color found its way to his drenched face and medics were rushing to stop the bleeding. Makino trembled at the sight of the strongest pirate she had ever seen looking so vulnerable. She held Luffy tighter, disregarding the fact that her own clothes were getting wet from Luffy's shivering figure. This is the worst injury I have ever seen. What happened? A medic said to Shanks as he struggled to work faster. I protected her. It's not a big deal, so what if a sea king ate my arm? No big deal, Shanks said almost eerily calmly. His dark eyes never strayed from Luffy's fearful gaze. As long as she's safe, it wouldn't have mattered as I died. Because I protect the people I love. That's what being a captain means. To protect your crew and loved ones no matter what. Isn't that right, Anchor? The red-haired man whispered out before passing out. A serene smile etched on his face as the doctors heaved him up. Luffy, are you alright? The small reindeer tentatively put a small brown hoof on his captain's leg. Hearing her name, Luffy promptly opened her hazy eyes. She scanned her surrounding looking for the crimson color that had haunted her memory. She shivered as rain fell on her body from the open window she had earlier sat directly in front of. Chopper took this as a bad sign and immediately went on a rampage looking for a doctor. He had again forgotten he was the crew's medic. You've been all wobbly since we left town, Nami commented, reaching for the sack behind her. He's lost a lot of blood because of that bastard. Zoro reined in the hate bubbling in his chest against the man who dared stab Luffy. Green eyes flickered to Luffy's hunched-up form before returning to Nami's worried gaze. Suddenly a chicken leg was shoved into Luffy's hands and the Straw Hat captain perked up at the sight of food. Luffy, make sure to gain back your energy. You need it to face these monsters. Nami offered her captain a small smile. I'm just saying, if we all ambush the creep together we might stand a chance. Polly's harsh voice made its way to the remaining Straw Hat pirates. I'm not arguing with you. Sheesh, I'm just trying to tell you that I want to get some of my punches in before we kill the fucker, Zambai's deep voice shouted back. What are you two arguing about? Nami fumed, preparing to launch herself at the two annoying men for not realizing the emotional moment her crew was experiencing. Zambai grimaced, his big hands fiddled with the straps of his overalls. He suddenly didn't seem as scary or authoritative as Nami shouted at him. We were just arguing over who was gonna beat the shit out of the bastard who hurt us all. He is the one responsible for Frankie Bro's kidnapping, as Frankie's right-hand man. I say that our family has the right to maul the bastard. Zambai let out a shuddering breath as he received both Polly and Nami's glare. I just told you, we don't stand a chance against him. He's stronger than all of us combined. Your family will be annihilated. If we all gang up, then that is a different story, Polly, despite being injured, animatedly explained. No, every passenger on the runaway train turned their heads to look at the source of the voice. Different pairs of eyes met a disheveled Luffy munching on the last piece of meat Nami offered her. She slowly stood up, her body stance threatening someone to defy her. I know you're strong, kid. But Luchi is a different kind of enemy you may have encountered before. He's fucking evil. I'm not gonna stand back while he destroys you, Polly said, chewing his cigar's end. No, Luffy again said. This time it was a command. Fuck. Look, Straw Hat. Polly drawled out. Zambai glared at Luffy through his one eyeglass. He eyed the difference in stature between Polly, Luffy and himself. The pirate looked relatively weak. Even the green-haired second in command looked stronger than him. No one is to touch Luchi. At all. He's mine, Luffy all but shouted. Zoro growled deep in his throat. The Frankie family all jumped back a step. They feared he was threatening them for trying to defy his captain. But, no, that was definitely not what Zoro was currently thinking. He's mine? You've never laid claim on me? Zoro screamed in his mind, his grip tightening on his sword's hilt. Oh ho ho. When Zoro finds Luchi, he was going to have a field day. Oh yes, he was. He was going to take the scrawny bastard and cut him into a trillion pieces until you couldn't even tell who the fuck he was. Zoro was fucking going to make origami with the bastard. A mad grin overtook the swordsman right then and there. He had unfortunately missed the rest of Luffy's argument where she had made everyone submit to her will. And now he was stuck in a very bad position. Normally, if he was smirking to himself or laughing diabolically, no one would say anything. That of course was because no one was there to see him do it, but this time everyone saw him grin like a madman. But why, oh dear reader, would it matter that our poor swordsman was grinning evilly and everyone saw him? Well, three very robust and practically naked women stood in front of him. All the other men including Zambai and Polly were sporting huge nosebleeds, some even had fainted in a fit of joy. See, Luffy saw him. Luffy fucking saw him. And that crazy person grin translated into a perverted leer in Luffy's chocolate eyes. Pervert! Luffy shouted, pointing an accusing finger at her previously most trusted crew member. Fuck my life, Zoro thought as he tried to school his features back in attempt to explain to his captain, who was mumbling about how what Ace said about lecherous men all suddenly made sense. Zoro didn't even have time to dwell on the fact that Luffy even knew what lecherous meant, as Nami and the two twin square sisters finally put on skimpy outfits claiming it was their battle clothes. You seem happy, Khalifa commented idly as Streetly manicured nails. Had she not been sporting matching outfits with the rest of the notorious CP9, she would have looked normal. Luchi blandly stared back at the woman. She deserved none of his undivided attention, after all she was weak in his eyes. Stop bothering him, Khalifa. Do you want him to kill you too? Kaku spoke from his seat. He pointed at the boy smothered beneath Luchi's dress shoes. Usopp yelped. Sanji was in back of him, but he stood no chance against Luchi or any of the people in this train cart. Luchi dug his foot deeper into Usopp's back, waiting to hear a crack or something of the nature. Leave him alone. Why, you said if I came with you, you wouldn't hurt any of the Straw Hat Pirates. Robin's normally stoic voice shouted, full of worry for her ex-crew member. She was restrained by Bluno and sea stone shackles, otherwise she might have been able to free Usopp. Luchi's smirk increased. But he followed you. I never said anything about not hurting them if they willingly followed you. After all, he's trying to break a prisoner free. He's trying to set a horrendous woman like you free on the world. Leave the kid alone, I'll go with you. Frankie's voice thundered. He quickly snatched Usopp's arm and traded places with the masked boy. Wait, I'm not Usopp. I'm not a Straw Hat, I'm Sogeking. Usopp's cries were muffled by Sanji. The cart the two males were in was suddenly separated, Frankie having risked his life to protect the two from CP9. Tell your captain I'm waiting for him. Luchi suddenly spoke, his smile a sadistic leer. Is that why you're happy? Khalifa started again. You have a new boy toy? She was almost going to start shrieking in laughter when Luchi gave her a piercing glare. Don't talk to me. He leaned in close to the blonde. I don't mind killing you. Khalifa was left white as a sheet, pushing her glasses up in a nervous reflex. What did I tell you? Kaku commented, oh, shut it. She's being blackmailed. Robin still cares for us. The CP9 has something on her, something that would make her leave us. All I know is that piece of shit told her biggest crime was existing and that as soon as the government was done with her he would have the pleasure of killing her. Sanji rambled on, seething as he remembered how Bluno had practically flung Robin to the side after they had tried to escape with her. Sogeking and Sanji had finally made their way to the rest of the crew after their failed mission. But now they were all looking forward to taking on the CP9 and bringing Robin home. I'm just saying, because of the blackmail, she's not going to come with us so willingly. I mean, Usopp arg. Sogeking almost had her with us, but she refused to put us in danger. Sanji finished his tale and promptly took a cigarette from his coat pocket to drown his sorrows. I don't care. We're getting her back, Luffy confidently stated. We have to be careful. They're headed to Enies lobby. Past that is the headquarters for the friggin' world government. There's tons on Navy officers crawling. We might seriously die, y'all. No. Polly shouted as he prepared his weapons for battle. Die. Chopper, Nami, and Usopp all wailed. Luffy simply smiled, looking at all her allies. It's okay to die, as long as you protect those y'all lurv, Granny Kokura suddenly said out of nowhere. Everyone turned in surprise to see the older woman come out of thin air. What was more surprising was that her grandchild and the pet, cat, were with her. Didn't they know they were going to a dangerous battle? Sanji's blue eyes met Luffy's dark orbs. She immediately flashed him a toothy grin. The words were unsaid, but they were understood. Don't die, Luffy. Then I leave the rest of the plan to you guys. I'm out, Luffy suddenly said as she disappeared from sight once their destination was spotted. Did he even listen to the plan? He wasn't supposed to. Oh fuck it, Polly shouted. It's unheard of, a single man making it all the way to the steps of the world government without a scratch on him. You should be dead. Bluno struggled to get up after Luffy delivered a punch to his abdomen. Really, that's such a compliment, means I'm strong, Luffy giggled. You shouldn't even be able to keep up with my speed. No wonder Luchi has taken a liking to you, huh? Bluno mumbled, picking himself up. Too bad that bastard pisses everybody off, so I guess your journey ends here. No, I think you got that wrong. Luffy's carefree smile morphed into a confident grin. You see, when I was defeated by Aokiji, I realized there were tons of guys as strong, no, even stronger than him in the world. I'm a pirate. A pirate captain. My nakama is strong. But I want to protect them, now I can't go dying on them, can I? Luffy glared murderously at the bigger man. I have to be stronger than everyone else in the whole wide world to protect them. So I thought of a way to become stronger. No one, not you or Luchi, will kill them. Bluno stared as Luffy's rubber limbs started to release smoke. She was turning into a searing red color. It looked painful and unnatural. Gear second. In a matter of seconds, Bluno stood no chance against Luffy's newfound strength. He was out cold on the floor as soon as she delivered a well-aimed punch to his face. Ah, I'm dead tired. Luffy looked at her hands wearily, noticing the power she recently tried out on Bluno. Her stomach suddenly lurched and she had to double over to stop herself from throwing up the contents of her stomach. Weak. She shuddered, hugging herself with clammy hands. I guess my body hasn't gotten used to this yet. Well, I don't really care about my body right now. She stood up, orienting herself on the roof of the courthouse leading to where the Navy was probably holding Robin captive. The words on the next building over read in bold blue letters, World Government. Luffy stood at the tip of the roof, surveying her surrounding. Directly below her she could make out her crew along with Polly and the Frankie family. They were fighting hundreds of Navy officers with some difficulty. All of this madness had to be stopped. All Luffy had to do was get Robin back. Because I protect the people I love. That's what being a captain means. To protect your crew and loved ones no matter what. Isn't that right, Anchor? Even if Robin didn't want to be saved, Luffy was going to save the older woman no matter what. You didn't want to be saved in Alabasta either, Robin. You think this little incident gonna stop me? Yeah, right, Luffy told herself. She cupped her hands on the sides of her mouth, creating an impromptu loudspeaker. Taking a deep breath, she let her voice carry to the next building over. The floor rumbled and suddenly her nakama stood with her, all ready to defy the government. Luffy let out a booming war cry. Robin. Luffy clutched with small hands the straw hat on her head. It was too big for her and ended up tilting to cover her face. That was fine by her. After all, she was biting her lip and sniffling, trying to keep her tears in. She didn't want Shanks to see her like that, not after what he had done for her. She wanted to be grateful, send him off with a smile. But instead she was sniffling like a small baby. Keep it, Shanks' normally clear booming voice sounded raspy. Luffy couldn't look up, she didn't want to see Shanks' missing limb. She bit her lip harder. The red-haired pirate patted the beaten hat on Luffy's head. He suddenly pulled away and turned to walk towards the dock. I'm going to become a pirate, Luffy squeaked out. To get my arm back? Shanks turned the horrible occurrence into a small joke. To make sure no one has to lose an arm for me again, to be strong, she whispered out the last part. You could do that by joining the Navy, Shanks said, his heavy boots sounding far away as he kept on moving. Luffy ran to him, chasing him with small legs. Grandpa won't let me, but he can't stop me from being a pirate. I'll become so strong even he won't stop me. I'll become better than you. Because being a small girl shouted, pulling on Shanks' cape, begging him to stop. I'll be Pirate King. I'll make all the Sea Kings my friends to make sure they never eat someone's arm ever again. I'll travel the world and get the bestest nakama in the planet. She trailed off. Then you have to make sure you won't die. Shanks turned to the girl and gave her a smile. They'll be waiting for you. Shanks is waiting for me. No, that's not right. Robin is. I need to save her. Save Robin. Save my nakama. Luffy rambled in her foggy mind. I let Frankie run after her. He's waiting for me too. Spandam, that bastard, is taking Robin away, taking her to the gates of justice. I promised to save her. I need to get up, I need to leave. Robin. Luffy croaked out. That's the wrong name to be crying out during a time like this, Straw Hat. A slick, almost sickening voice caressed Luffy's ear. Snapping her eyes open, she saw how close the madman had gotten to her in a span of seconds. A clawed hand traced a line on Luffy's jaw. It burned for a moment and suddenly blood started to seep from the small wound. It made Luchi's smirk widen. Should I cry your name then? Luffy spat, gaining some distance away from the monster as she jumped to her feet. Luffy's eyes darted all over Luchi's body. He was a monster. He had eaten a devil's fruit. But unlike hers, where she didn't transform into a ball of rubber, he had completely transformed into a tall, horribly strong leopard. Well, frankly, that would be wonderful. Luchi spoke and Luffy's skin goose bumped. After all, you should credit the man who will kill you. Second gear, Luffy suddenly shouted, preparing herself to use the deathly move once again. No, that won't do. That move you keep on using against me. It's bad for your heart, Straw Hat-kun. And I would very much prefer squeezing that heart of yours myself than letting you destroy yourself. You do know, what you're doing lessens your lifespan. Shut up. Luffy countered, steam coming off her body. You won't be able to beat me. Don't you realize, you idiot? Luchi growled out. Shut up. Luffy shouted, launching herself towards the leopard man. The building rumbled and water started to enter through the cracks. You felt that? That's the start of the Buster Call. The Navy is going to destroy everyone here. Except me, of course, but that's only because no one can kill me. Luchi used his speed to avoid Luffy's attacks. I thought you were better than this. You got me exited for nothing. Luchi managed to get close to Luffy again to shove her almost tauntingly. Let me show you something better then. Luffy moved away, bending down into the gear second stance. Gear third. As your power increases, your speed decreases, huh? Luchi smiled cruelly as he avoided an attack and shoved Luffy to the floor. He hadn't noticed the brute strength put into the attack, and when her arm ricocheted he was hit and sent flying through a wall onto a Navy warship. The ship was promptly destroyed, being part of the Buster Call. Spandam had ordered the complete destruction of Enies lobby, and if that meant the Navy's ships around it, so be it. Luchi promptly returned to Luffy. She had crouched and was preparing to attack again. You're going to die using that power, Luchi sneered. I don't care what happens to me afterwards, but as long as you are here I won't stop using it. Luffy boldly stated through clenched teeth. But I already told you. Your death belongs to me. And suddenly Luchi delivered one of the strongest blows directly to Luffy's chest, causing her to fly and hit a partially destroyed wall. Her mouth suddenly opened and she couldn't stop the flow of blood. She was on the floor, gasping and wheezing. The taste of metal deep in her mouth. She almost felt like she could spit out her heart. It hurt so fucking bad. The wall next to her was suddenly blasted open by a cannonball. The Navy's loudspeakers were on and everyone could hear it. Our prime target is Straw Hat Luffy, don't let him leave here alive. You heard the order, Luchi said as he delivered a blow to the already weakened pirate. Her body failed on her. She couldn't move. All she could do was lay on the cool tile, her blood spurting from her mouth. Her muscles spasmed, her eyes drooped. She was going to die. From the destroyed wall, the rest of the crew standing on the bridge could see Luffy and Luchi's fight go down. Robin had already been safely brought back by Frankie, and although they were all surrounded, they were fighting as a team. Navy officers everywhere thought the whole crew fought with a fierceness that matched the captain's. Luffy! Sogeking suddenly shouted. He ran to the edge of the bridge, spotting Luffy's beaten figure. Z Zoro, S Sanji. Anybody, help him, the cowardly boy shouted, pointing to the bloodied captain. The rest of the crew couldn't move as they tried to protect themselves from Navy officers out for their lives. Damn it! Luffy, you aren't going to die, Zoro mentally told himself as he stabbed the flocks of enemies. You're strong. You're not going to die. He didn't kill you, he can't. Luffy, what are you doing? Usopp dropped his mask and let tears flow freely. Get up, you're not going to die. Luchi moved towards Usopp slowly, Luffy at his feet unmoving. Don't touch him. Don't you dare touch Usopp, Luffy weakly said as she stretched a hand to cling onto Luchi's pant leg. You're already dying. I need to complete my mission and kill everybody here, Luchi all but purred. Luffy, get up. This isn't the worst thing. This isn't hell. After this we can go home together. We'll make you Pirate King. Just get up, Usopp shouted at the top of his lungs. Luffy smiled and staggered but slowly stood, her blood rushing to her ears. If I die, I'm taking you with me, Luchi, and the battle again begun. A few seconds later Luffy was sent flying through the crumbled room. Luchi had used the same attack. He had hit the same exact spot. Luffy didn't immediately collapse to the ground. She had to get one last hit in. Just one. Jet Gatling, she almost weakly shouted as she sent Luchi flying. It was only when she didn't see him get back up that her body fell to the ground. She could hear the loudspeaker go off. CP9's Luchi is defeated. Everything hurt. She didn't even want to attempt breathing if it would stop the insane burning. Blood matted her face, and it was freaking everywhere. Luffy vaguely wondered if the accomplished feeling settling in her chest was what Shanks felt as he saved her from that sea king. At least she died saving Robin and the rest of her nakama. Too bad Ace would probably be pissed. Ace, Luffy mumbled, tears pricking her eyes. Luffy, you won? She heard Usopp shout, get up, let's go. The loudspeaker went off again. Straw Hat Luffy is fatally wounded. Finish the job Luchi couldn't accomplish. Everyone turned their heads sharply to stare at Luffy's beaten body. Luffy, why aren't you getting up? Usopp shouted again. Luffy, please get up, Nami shrieked next to the long-nosed boy. Soon the rest of the crew was on the edge of the bridge encouraging Luffy to get up. "Luffy, you're strong. Come on, get over here," Sanji shouted, his blue eyes swimming with worry. "Captain San," Robin yelled, "I can't use my powers to get him. I'm weakened too. If I reach out I'll end up dropping him in the ocean." "Luffy, fuck. Get up. Don't play fucking games here. Get the fuck up now." Zoro suddenly panicked, raising his voice higher than anyone had heard him do before. Slowly, almost painfully so, Luffy tuned her head to face them. Her face was scrunched up in pain. "I can't move." She managed to raise her voice for them to hear. "Someone, anybody save him. Please," Nami shouted, shaking Sanji and Zoro furiously. "We can't get over there," Zoro shouted, angry at himself for letting her get so hurt. "Robin can't get her either," Sanji muttered angrily. "I'm going to die here." The crew turned to see a smiling Luffy. "It's okay, you guys can escape." "No, no, knave, you hear?" Zoro shouted, his hands griping the hilts of his swords. What good were his swords now if he couldn't even get to the other side to get her? "Nay, it's been fun. Really, I love all of you guys," Luffy mumbled through heavy-lidded eyes. Everyone had tears in their eyes. Frankie especially couldn't believe Luffy was giving up so easily. Zoro, green eyes met chocolate. "Can you tell my brother, I'm sorry but I wouldn't have listened to him anyways," she grinned. You're going to tell him yourself, you hear? You're not going to die, you idiot." Zoro came close to tears. "Robin, dump him into the ocean," Usopp suddenly shouted. "What? Are you trying to kill him faster?" Nami throttled Usopp. "Just do it, trust me. Everyone jump into the ocean. Mary has come to save us." As soon as those words slipped from his mouth, going Mary really did appear. "Mary has come to save us," the crew members shouted. "You're not going to die," Zoro finally yelled as Robin deposited her on Mary's deck. The swordsman lifted her head into his lap. "You're never going to die." Robin beat Zoro to what he wanted to say. "Thank you, Straw Hat-san, for saving me. Thank you." Tears were in her eyes as Luffy managed to put on one last smile before blacking out. "Let us meet the pirates, let us see our saviors. Please just let us apologize for calling them assassins. Let us take pictures with them. Nay, I hear all the men on the crew are total hotties. Please let me get their phone numbers before they leave. Mo. Let the heroes comment." The townspeople of Water 7 flocked to the city's headquarters. They all wanted to thank the Straw Hat crew for all that they did for their town. So when the few remaining shipwrights, among them Polly, tried to restrain them, a mob formed and tried to claw its way inside. "Is Straw Hat Luffy in here?" A gruff, powerful voice spoke. The mob immediately parted like the Red Sea. "Why you're a Marine." The townspeople tried to block the way when they regained their senses. "He's Garp, one of the only people to have faced Gold Roger." "There's no pirates here, no sir, only iceberg. Our wonderful mayor is up ahead. You don't need to go in." "No, someone stop him." Zoro, who had been passing, saw the commotion. His sharp eyes spotted the Marine flag on the ship and he sprinted to where Luffy was. "The Marines are still fucking after her. I have some business with that pirate, so everyone please move," the old but still threateningly powerful Marine said to the people. Two men followed him carefully, a flock of Navy soldiers behind them. "He's still out cold, it's worrying me," Nami softly spoke to Sanji at her side. All the blonde cook could do was swallow the lump in his throat and walk to the kitchen. He had a feast laid out in the dining table, ready for when his captain woke up. "Chopper, is he going to be okay?" Nami again spoke rather quietly. It was uncharacteristic for her to do so. "Well, I treated him the best I could. Robin helped me a lot since we have so many injured people around. She was the one who really patched up Luffy." The small reindeer answered, pressing some ice to Luffy's forehead. "He's going to be fine, Navigator-san. You know he likes to replenish his energy through food and sleep," Robin coolly stated. Sanji let out a sigh, grimacing as he remembered that as soon as the crew had gotten back, Zoro wouldn't leave Luffy's side. Now he was nowhere to be seen. He didn't know why it bothered him so much, but the feeling dwelling in his chest was getting uncomfortable. He was about to ask Chopper to re-examine him for any sickness when the wall shattered, exposing the room they were into the outside world. A lone Marine stood in midst of the rubble. The cracking of knuckles brought everyone to battle stances. Sanji crushed his cigarette in his mouth. Nami fingered her Kleem attacked. Chopper turned into his human form. Robin crossed her arms, willing her powers to wake up. Frankie burst in through a door, his arm transformed into a cannon. He had just come to give them the good news about the ship he was building for the pirate crew when the Marine had entered town. "Is Monkey D. Luffy here?" Garp's deep tenor voice resounded throughout the room. "What do you want with our captain?" Sanji shouted, his blue eye piercing the officers with a glare. Before anyone could even move, Garp was next to Luffy's bed. His dark eyes lingered on Luffy's injured face before a hand came to clutch Luffy's shirt. He raised her into a sitting position on the bed, and before Sanji or Robin could even utter a threat, he slapped her across the face. Luffy woke up, eyes darting all over the place. Was she still in danger? Had Luchi finally come to finish the job? She was on the ground, a shadow looming over her. Slap. Another blow was bitterly delivered across her face as soon as she dared look up. "What the hell have you been doing, Luffy?" Garp's voice came down on her like a bucket of ice water. The older man's hand was still raised, and he intended to bring it down on Luffy again. "Don't you ever fucking touch her again." Ace's voice squawked. He was in his pre-teen years and his voice didn't hold the manly authority he wanted, but that didn't faze him from protecting the small girl behind him. Luffy hiccuped, cradling her injured cheek with one hand, the other furiously wiping tears. "If I ever see you even touch her, I will kill you." Ace spoke to the much older man with determination in his eyes. He didn't care if the man was years older and much bigger, anybody who hurt Luffy was dead meat. "Ace, don't," Luffy managed to say, though a swollen cheek. "I won't let him take you from me," Ace shouted, pulling Luffy close to him. "Ace, you are the one leaving. I want to take you with me to headquarters. Wouldn't that be nice? Training with me?" the older man spoke up. "Then why can't I take Luffy? Why are you abandoning her again?" Ace shouted at the top of his lungs. "Luffy is a girl. She needs to know her place. She needs to stop entertaining these foolish ideas," the man shouted back, his hands in fists. "I'm just teaching my granddaughter a lesson." "Ji-chan," Luffy shouted, clumsily getting away from Garp. Her legs were wobbly, but her determination to get away from her grandfather was bigger than her pain. "Ji-chan," Sanji, Chopper, Nami and Frankie simultaneously shouted. Robin only glared. "Sir," a voice came from the hole in the wall. "Luffy, Marines are after you," Zoro shouted, and suddenly swords were being brought down to attack him. It was the same person who had addressed Garp before, along with his companion. A blur of yellow, pink and green fought momentarily before Zoro pushed them both to the side. "Who the fuck are you two?" Zoro seethed. "Petty officers." Garp shouted an order to stop their shenanigans and get in the small room. Garp turned back to Luffy. "Let me rephrase my question, Luffy. What the hell are you doing here?" "Ehehe, learning how to swim." Luffy laughed out nervously, her crew turning to look at her suspiciously. Another slap was directed to her face. Luffy dodged, only to be brought into a bone-crushing hug. She saw Zoro reaching for his swords again, and the rest of the crew reached for their weapons. "No, you guys don't fight him. Seriously, he's not someone even I can fight." Luffy mumbled as she fought to be released from her grandfather's odd way of showing love. "I look away for 1 second and you turn into a fucking pirate." Garp swung Luffy in his arms, as if she was nothing but a small child. "Do you know how scared I was when I find out from Aokiji that he's met you? And that you friggin' declared war on the world government just to get Nico Robin back? Are you insane? Where's Ace?" He's with you. Show him to me so I can beat his brains in." "How dare he let my precious Grand—" At that moment Garp remembered exactly why he was so angry in the first place. Turning, he walked towards the pink-haired petty officer and dragged him towards Luffy. "I hear you too," explained a glint in his eyes. "Ah, Luffy-san, it's so nice to meet you again," the pink-haired boy exclaimed, extending his hand towards the pirate captain in a greeting. "Who are you?" Every pirate in the room deadpanned. "I'm Kobe," the boy answered. "No, Kobe is my friend. He's shorter than me, and has these really big glasses, and kinda looks dorky. Hey Zoro, you remember Kobe, right? No way this guy is him." "Nay?" Luffy looked at the boy up and down, finding no resemblance to the boy she first met as a pirate. "I changed a lot. I joined the Navy along with Helmeppo over there. You know Axe Hand Morgan's son? The one who tried to kill you guys?" the supposed Kobe answered confidently, his eyes glancing back to Garp to see what his mentor would say. "Oh yeah, man, you changed a lot," Luffy finally smiled. "Well, now that you are all catches up, I would like to announce that this is your fiancé, Luffy," Garp said rather quickly, but everyone caught the statement. Eyes bulged out, mouths dropped to the floor, Kobe fought a furious blush and Zoro looked positively deadly. "Guess that means you gotta go back home and raise a family now, right?" Garp continued. "But I'm a boy." "But he's a boy, you want him to marry a guy? What kind of fucked up family is this? How the hell is he supposed to pop out a kid?" "Sir, you never said anything about this before," Kobe stuttered out, glancing at Luffy and the blonde cook and swordsman. "Well, you know, at my age I forget things." Garp grinned madly. He was going to get Luffy back even if it killed him. How the hell does anybody believe Luffy's a boy? Garp thought grimly. He glanced at Luffy and Kobe and suddenly shouted so the whole navy flock outside and some townspeople could hear. "I now pronounce you man, and well, man. You may kiss the groom." "Did he just do a shotgun wedding right in front of us?" Nami shrieked. Zoro and Sanji circled Kobe, the threat clear. "Kiss her and you'll die slowly." Luffy stormed out of the room, telling the rest of the crew to follow her. She was not marrying Kobe just to become some damn navy wife. Garp smiled and turned, telling them to get back to their ship. "You're not serious, are you? I mean, Luffy and me?" Kobe tried to wrap his head around the idea of what just happened. "Of course I am. I just need to get her signature on this dough." Garp laughed out as he held a marriage contract in his hands. "After all, it'll be pretty easy to get you to sign it." His tone was cold all of a sudden. And so the chase to get Luffy to sign a marriage contract was on.